All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Woodwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Can you guys hear us?
Can you guys hear us?
Can you guys hear us? Testing 1 2, 1 2. There it is. There it is. There it is.
Okay.
I think we figured it out, fellas, ladies and gentlemen. And I think you guys helped.
It only took us almost 10 episodes to have that issue. Remember, we are one of you guys.
Episode 245, man. Let's start this thing off the right way, like we always do. This is the Spoken Podcast. I am your host, Lance Woodwell. Here at the Starcade Media Studios, my guy, Trevor Woodwell.
Oh, good.
Episode 245 is officially now on its way because we decided to figure out what the hell we did wrong. I'm not going to tell you guys what it was. It's too embarrassing to admit, but the fact is there was not a button pushed, and that's completely on my end because I'm also the audio engineer around here. But we're so excited for you guys to be here with us and for us to be here with you because this is what we do here. The Spoken is an absolute community, and we love having you guys here every single week, every single time that we do this show. But you guys know this thing goes on even when we're not on air. We have a lot of social media stuff that we got going on as well where the conversation continues beyond this. And we got so much to get to, so I don't want to waste any more of your guys' time because I know it's a Saturday. You guys usually have things going on with your kids, your wives, or you're trying to avoid them. That's actually why you're with us. Regardless, you're with us right now. We appreciate that so much, and we're going to get to a lot of sports topics today. We're going to get to this Chiefs-Packers preview because we know that's what you guys want to talk about. It's a big thing going on in the NFL. It's Sunday Night Football. Big game for the Chiefs. Actually, a pretty big game for the Packers as well as far as their playoff seeding is concerned. So this game's going to matter a lot to both these teams. We're going to unpack that, preview it, and predict it as well as we do every single week with every single matchup that the Chiefs do end up having that week. We're going to obviously get to you guys in the Speak It segment where we give you guys the floor. You guys take over with your questions, your concerns, your takes, your topics. Whatever you guys have for us, you guys send it our way, and we will react and respond and answer as diligently and as authentically and, most importantly, most honestly. Because that's what you guys deserve, damn it. It's like Callahan Auto Parts around here. You're the best that we can give because that's the best that we're
That's what we care about.
That's what we care about. Yeah. God damn it. I wish I talked like Dan Aykroyd. This show would be so much better. The quality would go up so much, man. People would actually pay attention to us. But
it'd be fun.
I want to start here because, like I said, we have a jam-packed show for you guys. We're going to hand out L's at the end of the show as we always do. But I actually want to start this because I think that even though we're in the thick of things when it comes to the NFL season, and the Chiefs have several more games to go just in the regular season. We don't know how far they're going to go in the playoffs, but a lot of us are expecting them to be in the Super Bowl. We know that as it currently stands, there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to Chris Jones, his future here in Kansas City. We know this was a very big hot topic when it came to this offseason about whether the Chiefs were going to figure out this contract ordeal with him or not. The Katz brothers did everything in their power, his representation, did everything in their power to ruin this relationship. We know that ultimately the good guys won over. Chris Jones and the Chiefs have a very strong relationship, and that was the ultimate reason why they figured it out. Chris Jones currently has a deal, I think, that's paying him $25 million this year, which was a nice little bump in pay, technically. But there's a lot of different intricacies that you have to consider and factor in when it comes to that conversation and what took place this offseason. But now, what I told you guys all offseason coming into this year was the most important thing for me, because I want to speculate on what's going to happen with Chris Jones, the most important thing for me is to get him here, get him to play football for 2023, because the Chiefs, in my opinion, do not win the Super Bowl without Chris Jones. I just don't believe that they have. Even though the defense is very skilled around Chris, this defense is built around Chris. It all starts, ends, and begins with Chris Jones. He is the most important piece on that defensive side, without question. And he's having another impactful season. He's on pace to have 12 sacks, which would be the third most he's had in a season of his career. It'd be the third time he's had double-digit sacks in his career. He's had 2 other seasons of 9 sacks. So he's consistently right around the double-digit sack situation, even though he is the second most double-team player in the NFL this season, was the single most double-team player last year, and is usually coming from an interior side of things. So for him to do what he's done, you guys already know, man, this guy is just filled with greatness. He's a great player. He's a great guy, and I think there's a lot to him when it comes to just what he means to this team. Well, our team, Starcade Media, posted a video yesterday about Chris Jones, and I believe he was talking with Michael Smith, a longtime ESPN guy. I believe he's now with Amazon Prime, if I'm not mistaken. And they were asked, they were talking about just, the hot topic here. It's still a very hot topic because Chris Jones' future as to where he's going to be playing, who he's going to be with, is very much in question. Nothing is solidified for 2024. This was Chris Jones' response to that question. Let me go ahead and get that real quick. I apologize. Here we go.
Could be my last year with the Chiefs. Am I going to hate the Chiefs for it? Am I going to down the Chiefs for it? No. I understand the business of it, you know what I mean? So I can respect the reality of things, Yeah. So I never put my feelings in the business part of it. Hypothetically speaking, if this is my last year, I've given this organization everything I have. I have exhausted everything. So if this is my last year, I'm super thankful. Hopefully it's not, but if it is, I'm super grateful for the Chiefs organization, and I've poured everything into this.
And how do you envision this offseason playing out? Have you manifested? Have you thought about it?
I don't even think about it.
No.
Man. I don't even think about it, because when you start thinking about things, trying to plan, nothing really goes as planned, right? It's always a curveball, and it's always something that comes up, and it's like, I had this planned out, but so I don't think about it. After the season, we'll evaluate, see where we at, and hopefully it's still with the Chiefs.
I really appreciated that candid conversation that Chris Jones had, and something you always know about Chris Jones is that he's He's always going to give you the real. He's always going to give you the authentic version of himself. That's what I've always respected about Chris, is that you don't see Fugazi when it comes to Chris. He's very much who he is, and I think that's a big reason why a lot of Chiefs fans have been charmed by this guy from day one. I remember him being a rookie back in 2016, and he wasn't really putting up any real numbers at all. I think he only had 2.5 sacks, but you saw the energy, you saw the exuberance, you saw the passion, the zeal from the player and the person. Also a very charitable guy. He's very much involved in the community. He's a father. He is a guy that you want to have on your team, a salt-of-the-earth individual. I think a lot of that got skewed this offseason when people started to think that he was some greedy punk that didn't want to be here in Kansas City. He was just focused on his money. When all along what it really was is that Chris Jones wanted to feel valued by the team that he's put. Like he said, he's given them everything. And I think there was a lot of miscommunication between him and the Chiefs. And I don't want to speak for either side because I've spoken to neither side about this. But from the outside looking in and from what I've seen and what I've gathered, that is where I'm at. I believe that Chris Jones wants to be a Chief for the rest of his career. I don't think he wants to go anywhere else. I think he's very happy here because they're winning. He has a lot of friends that are near and dear to him. He talks about him and Travis Kelce's relationship, him and Patrick Mahomes, how much he loves and respects Steve Spagnuolo and Big Red Andy Reid. Like, these are real relationships here. This isn't some manufactured bullshit he's putting out there to make himself look good for the next team that maybe takes him on. I genuinely believe that Chris Jones wants to be a Chief, wants to be a Chiefs Hall of Famer, which I think he already is. I think he's on his way. I think he's very much on his way to becoming an NFL Hall of Famer if he keeps this up for another couple of seasons, which is why I am expecting Chris Jones to continue to play at this level, which is why I am expecting the Chiefs to figure out a way to get this long-term deal done. Now, we could sit here and speculate. We got a long way to go. There are multiple options here as to what the Chiefs can do, and I want to break that down in just a second. But the biggest reason why I want the Chiefs to figure this out isn't just because of his production on the field. It's because of the fact that Chris Jones goes above and beyond when he doesn't have to. I don't know if you guys heard it this last week, but the conversation all season has been what? It's been about the offense. And hey, are they going to figure it out? Are they going to get this shit rolling? Are these wide receivers actually good? And everybody keeps talking about that. And you know that I have had my strong opinions. Trevor has had his strong opinions on this. We've talked about this until the cows come home, man. We have been exhausting this storyline. But it's been so relevant, we kind of have to. It's been the biggest storyline. It's been the hottest storyline. Yet therefore, it has to continue to stay at the top of our minds and on the tip of our tongues. And so, Chris Jones, after the Raiders game, when the Chiefs beat them 31-17 and went on a 31-3 run in that game after trailing 14-0, Chris Jones had a press conference, and this is his quote. I was trying to find the video. If you guys find the video, please go watch it because I always appreciate tonality. I like for people to understand the way somebody is saying something, not just the actual words, because sometimes things get misconstrued. But I do promise you, don't take my word for it. Go watch it yourself. Chris Jones has a sincere tone to what he's saying when he says these words. He said, in response to a question about the offense, quote, "Listen, over the years, man, the offense has been so good, right? And we're so used to Patrick Mahomes scoring 30-plus a game and Travis Kelce scoring 80 to 100 or having 80 to 100 yards a game. We've been so spoiled with that as a team. It might not start out that way we wanted to start it out, right? But as this offense continues to play, they're going to continue to get better. Young guys are going to continue to step up, and we're going to get back in the rhythm of Pat scoring 30. And we just thought the pass rush was crazy." See, end quote. By the way, this is what Chris Jones does for this team that I don't think people understand. You can't put a price tag on a guy that's on the other side of the ball that has every right, honestly, to be pissed off about the fact that all 3 losses this season have nothing to do with the defense. The defense has done their job literally every single week. They've given up 24 points twice this season. Or is it one time this season? I think it was against the Broncos. Yeah. Most points they've given up in a game. And 2 of those scoring drives started off on the Chiefs side of the field.
Turnovers, yep.
So you could sit here and talk about, Chris Jones could say, like, well, I mean, I hope they figure it out because, damn, man, we're out here trying. We're out here working. We're busting our ass on the defense side. We're going to keep. He could have played it, did that canned response thing like, the defense is going to do what they're going to do. I'm sure they'll figure it out. This man goes into depth and quotes references and talks about how we've been spoiled by this offense. And quite frankly, he's right. This is what we talk about all the time on the show about how the Mahomes standard changed shit around here. It isn't just the scoring high numbers and things like that. It's a Super Bowl standard. But with that Super Bowl standard, we've put an expectation on this offense. They're going to lead the way. Because when you pay a quarterback $500 million, that guy better be putting up numbers. And he has for the majority of his career, except out of this season. And even, funny enough, Patrick Mahomes is currently on pace to have over 4,500 yards and 34 touchdowns this season, and people are talking about this is going to be his low point. That would be the majority of the from an historic standpoint, most of the great quarterbacks ever, that would be their best season. And we're talking about some of the greats. And Patrick Mahomes' down season is going to be 45 and 34. So what Chris Jones is doing here is he's got the back of his teammates. And that tells me that he's a guy that truly wants to stick around. I'm not here to try to make a case for Chris Jones because the man's made it for himself. But when I look at these, when I see things and when I hear things like this from a guy that really has no true reason to do this, a guy that did not get what he wanted this offseason, which was a long-term deal that was going to pay him an exuberant amount of money, and he's still saying stuff like this, still going out there and busting his ass for this team, that's the kind of guy I want for this team. Now, he is going to be 30 years old this next year. There's an offseason of questions about how much money could Chris Jones really go out there and garner in free agency if that is in fact the way they go, because there's only 3 ways this goes. It's going to be free agency where the Chiefs let him walk, a franchise tag, or a tag and trade. One of those 3 are the most likely situations the Chiefs will have with Chris Jones. I still think they get a long-term deal done, but let's go with these 3 scenarios real quick. So free agency would just be the Chiefs letting him walk. After this contract is over, you just let Chris Jones walk. Highly, highly disagree with that decision. He would be hitting the market at age 30 again. He's not young, but you guys see there's no drop-off in his game. To compare another big-time name, another pass rusher that you could even try to compare to Chris Jones was Javon Hargrave this last offseason. 30 years old, got himself a 4-year, $84 million deal, which included $40 million guaranteed with the San Francisco 49ers. And obviously, Hargrave is not the player that Chris Jones is, but he's a really good player. But this can still kind of gauge about where Chris Jones' next contract could really be. If the rumors are true that Chris Jones was looking for $30 million a year, that's not $30 million a year, guys. In fact, that's right around $20-ish million a year. 4 years, $84 million. That's around $21 million a year. So that's a lesser player, but Chris is probably looking at $4 to $5 million more a year tops off of Hargrave's contract. So that's $25 million, which ironically what the Chiefs were kind of ballparking him at. And so that's kind of where I think his market would be if everything goes to plan, where he stays healthy, Chiefs win a Super Bowl, they have a really nice run in the postseason. I think that would probably be his market. 4 years, $100 million, something like that in total. He'd probably get $50, $60 million guaranteed. That would probably be his high end for his market. I don't think the Chiefs are going to let him hit the open market, though. I just don't envision that happening because I don't think the Chiefs are dumb enough to let an elite pass rushing defensive tackle who's the best in the game just go out there and they don't get anything in compensation. Yeah. Which is why the franchise tag is another option. Now, first of all, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I hate the F tag. I think it's wrong. I don't think the NFL should have that anymore because it really puts a lot of control for the teams where the player has to really suffer for that, honestly, because if they get franchise tagged, they report, which is what they do to make money, they get hurt, their market just drops on a 1-year deal, basically. And
it's a lot of money, but it's
but it's all prorated too. But it looks like that could be an option for the Chiefs. But the problem is a 2024 franchise tag tender would cost the Chiefs almost $31 million anyway.
Yeah,
and that's guaranteed money. So if you're going to pay Chris, you might as well avoid the franchise tag, which is going to be $31 million against your cap directly, and try to spread that money out over 2, 3, 4 years, in my opinion. So I know the franchise tag is an option, but I don't think the Chiefs are going to give a 30-year-old pass rusher a franchise tag that's going to pay him $31 million against the cap. The tag and trade one is interesting, though, because that's the one I think a lot of people would be okay with, and myself included, because of the fact that you would get something out of Chris Jones, and if you can't work out a deal with Chris, look, I understand this is a business. I want Chris to stay here, but I do understand if his line doesn't move, if he keeps the Katz brothers for whatever freaking reason as his representation, or he goes and upgrades, he gets a better representation. Let's say he gets Drew Rosenhaus, a guy that will get you paid, and his line hasn't moved. He still wants $28, $29, $30 million a year, and the Chiefs aren't willing to give Chris that. Then you can say, okay, well, we'll go out there, or you can go out there, go find a team that's willing to trade for you that would give you the money you want. We will figure out a way to do so. Now, the question, though, is what would you get in return? Because regardless of what happens, again, they're looking at a $31 million cap hit on his franchise tag. There's a lot of different moves they would have to be able to make this work. But according to that, Trevor, the Chiefs would have about $41 million in cap space next year. That's a rough estimate. I'm sure our guy John Harrison will have a different number for us. But that number could easily be pushed up to around $69 million by moving on from veterans like Justin Reed, Joe Thuney, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I don't believe they're moving off Joe Thuney, but I do think the $10 million of Valdez-Scantling, I think it's like $5 or $6 million coming off of Reed, would help the Chiefs dramatically in making this work. But the question is, what is the compensation?
Yeah, John Harrison literally commented as soon as you mentioned his name. It was like you manifested that. I don't know if you want me to read it.
Do it, yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and put it on the screen. John Harrison says, there is another scenario. If they let him walk and put a restricted free agent restriction on him, they can match any contract or let him go, and they're guaranteed a number one pick. Guaranteed number one pick compensation based on his value. F-tag guarantees 2 number ones. Most teams won't sign a guy then that gives up 2 number ones.
Right. So what I'm basically...
So you're asking a team that's desperate. I mean, the Bears could be a team that's desperate enough, and they have a lot of shares, but I don't think they're giving them that for a 30-plus-year-old guy.
And that's the thing. I think if Chris Jones was 27 years old, there's going to be multiple teams that would maybe make that offer.
Yeah.
The problem, those guys, I think that the picture that's being painted for us right now is the best solution for everybody involved is for Chris Jones to have a realistic number and for the Chiefs and him to figure out a deal. I think that's the most realistic situation here for Kansas City right now because, again, you can't let him walk. That's illogical. You can't just let him walk out the door. He's too good, too valuable for this defense because not only would you not be getting anything back, but you're creating a gaping hole in this defense. I get it. This defense is really good, but again, it's good around Chris Jones. You see the difference in having him and not having him. I know they were good against the Lions in week 1, but try to play a whole season without Chris Jones.
Yeah.
Give me a freaking break, man. He's creating scenarios for guys like George Karlaftis, Mike Gannon, those guys to have career years. That doesn't happen without Chris Jones. So I think the most logical of all these scenarios, and you guys can tell me in the chat, tell me and Trevor in the chat what you guys think. I think the best idea for the Chiefs and them is to figure out, it's going to be pricey. But again, you see the cap space, man. The Chiefs could have almost $70 million in cap space next year if they make just a few moves. I do believe that the Chiefs can be able to afford Chris Jones and still be aggressive in the offseason for free agents, trades, things of that nature, because they always find a way to do that. That's why they have Brett Tillis in place with their management, their cap management. I think that the best scenario, like I said, Trevor, is for them to keep Chris Jones for the leadership, production, the person that he is, and just the fact that this defense is just what it is because of him. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, first of all, I want to say that I like that that he mentioned, when asked about, what is he thinking about this coming off season and what is he manifesting or whatever, and he mentioned, the fact that he doesn't think about that stuff. He understands that things can change.
Yep.
At any moment, any little new thing can come up and it can change everything. Because what he just went through trying to get this negotiation done heading into this season, I think that was him speaking out of experience from that situation.
Right.
So I like that, the growth of him as a person, acknowledging that you're not always going to get everything you ask for. And sometimes the things that you ask for are just a little out of reach. So I like that. But obviously I want to keep Chris Jones here. I mean, anybody who just outright doesn't want Chris Jones here, you're crazy. The guy hasn't regressed really at any level yet. Athletes are continuing to get better. Sports sciences continue to get better. These guys, this isn't the 80s, right? This isn't the 70s and 80s where nose tackles and defensive linemen, tap out after 6-7 years of their careers. These guys are playing well into their 30s now at high levels. And like to quote Alex Smith, we're seeing the golden age of defensive linemen. And I couldn't agree more. I loved that take. I think that makes more sense than the quality of the game just going down and offense going down. I think defensive linemen are more talented and athletic than ever.
100% agree.
This is why almost every single offensive line in the NFL is struggling, unless you got a guy that can elude sacks like Patrick Mahomes. Offensive lines are down all throughout the league this year because of the ridiculousness and talent at defensive line. So guys like Chris Jones are blazing the trail for that position. So he's a unicorn guy, and you want to keep those kind of guys around. Those are lifer kind of players. But if it did come down to a departure, I mean, the tag and trade would be the only way the Chiefs really can benefit from letting him walk. And I don't see the Chiefs really – and the Chiefs let him walk, that is an all-time fail.
Right.
And I don't see the Chiefs really taking that. I think the Chiefs would want to at least save some face. I do think both sides – I think this marriage is definitely reconcilable. I think that the differences can definitely be reconciled.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, we know that both sides want to be together still. That's not even a question. Spags has a special relationship with Chris. Chris has a special relationship with Spags and is a pillar player for this defense. And is a fan favorite. Has been a fan favorite basically since he's gotten starter reps. The guy is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, personality on this team. And that's a guy you keep around, man. He's a face of this franchise. He's a guy that other teams fear. And if you take away the guy that other teams fear, you're at a massive disadvantage on defense. Regardless of the rest of the talent, which we have a stupid amount of talent on this defense. Not a lot of guys in this defense that a lot of teams fear, though.
Right.
Quarterbacks looking across the other side of the field and looking at Chris Jones, looking them back in the eye is something none of them want to see. That's something these guys want to avoid at all costs, which is why he's getting double, triple teamed to save the lives of those opposing quarterbacks. You want that guy on your side. So, yeah, man, for me, Chiefs, do whatever you got to do. I know Patrick shuffle some things around this year. I think Patrick's going to get paid pretty handsomely this next coming year. But that could open up things down the long run, like we discussed before the season even started with that move. That actually opens up more money down the road the next few seasons for a guy like Chris Jones to maybe get some more guaranteed money, for the next 3 seasons or so. So I'm hoping that's something that they can figure out. I know we got other guys to pay this offseason, but none are more important than Chris Jones.
I couldn't agree more.
L'Jarius Sneed could go. All these guys can go as much as I love them. Chris Jones has got to stay.
That's the tricky part about these conversations because you almost feel like you're almost having to downplay other players to justify keeping one.
Yeah.
That's not what this conversation is about. That's why when it comes to L'Jarius Sneed or it comes to Willie Gay or any of these other guys, I don't try to lessen the value of these guys or lessen the contributions they make to this team because I love having these guys in this team. This team is that much better with them than without them. The question, and Trevor knows this question, I was on All Chiefed Up a couple weeks ago, and I was talking to Mike Williams about this, and I always use the same philosophy because it seems to work every time. When it comes to a player the Chiefs are thinking about paying or not paying, the question I always ask is, do I believe that player is better at his job than Brett Veach? If I think that player is better at his job than Brett Veach is at his job, I want to keep that player. If I don't believe genuinely that guy's better at his position than Brett Veach is at GM, then I don't want to pay that player. And to be honest with you guys, Chris Jones on the defensive side as currently constructed, maybe Trent McDuffie's starting to creep there. The only guy I feel confident enough to say that is better at his job than Brett Veach is Chris Jones. And I get the age thing makes people uncomfortable, but as Trevor said, this is the golden age of players at those positions, at that magnitude.
He's one of those guys that makes you say that.
Yes. I mean, and we can't sit here and pretend that he's not climbing the ladder of historics at his position.
Yeah.
Where he could become one of the true special figureheads of defensive pass rushers, defensive linemen as a whole. He's one of the best of his generation, guys. Literally, one of the best. I think he's third in sacks since 2018. This is a true special player. Yep. I get that he's not young, but he's not old to the point where you guys are like, man, you're seeing the end. You're really starting to see Chris Jones slowing down.
When he doesn't have
getting hurt a lot,
and he's never had that injury,
right?
You know what I mean? Like some guys have had a major injury in their career, like whether a blown ACL or Achilles or a torn meniscus or something like that. For those bigger guys, that's worrisome as they age. He's never had that massive injury where it's like, is that lingering again? You know what I mean? He doesn't have any of that baggage, so it's like. He's had some little things here and there that have kept him out of games, a hammy or whatever, calf or something. He had a little slight knee thing, I think, at one point, but he's never had that major injury to where it's gotten worse with age.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, this is a guy that has had a pretty clean bill of health, and has just been a consistent, dominant player in this league, man.
And that's how I think he's going to continue to play. We'll see we'll see, what the Chiefs and him decide to do. I do believe, though, like Trevor said, there's enough of a relationship between these two sides that I think that they can figure something out, or at worst figure out the best scenario, because even with Tyreek Hill and the way things got between him and the Chiefs, they still went and sent him where he wanted to go, and the Chiefs got a hell of a return in place. I would like to believe that if worst case scenario, the Chiefs and Chris can't figure something out, they'll send Chris somewhere where he will feel comfortable playing, and the Chiefs will get a nice return in place. But like John Harrison said, it's going to be really tricky for that to happen because of the fact of the way this thing is structured between him and his contract. And I just don't see a scenario, guys, where the Chiefs don't figure out a way to get Chris Jones in. But that's just me. That's where I'll stay. Where I want to move this conversation to another place, though, that is a lot more controversial, believe it or not, Trevor, because I know the Chris Jones thing is very polarizing. It draws a lot of attention. People want to talk about it. Every Chiefs fan I know has a legitimate opinion on Chris Jones. Every single one. I don't know if people have. I don't know if there's a lot of Chiefs fans, but I think it's starting to grow because I kind of helped ignite the fire here accidentally. I knew what was going to probably come of it. Yeah, no, me. Yeah, no. I knew what was going to come of it. But if you're not following me on Twitter, guys, I did say something. I did post it on our Facebook page as well, so you may have seen it there. First of all, let me first. I do understand that people will disagree with what I have to say, but trust when I say these things because I genuinely believe them. If you don't feel the same, that's totally cool. It's within your right. There's no right or wrong answer. This is just my opinion on this matter. I think Drew Tranquill should keep the starting position at middle linebacker, even when Nick Bolton's healthy. Drew Tranquill came into this season as a guy that I thought was I think this is going to be the best pickup the Chiefs had this year, and that includes Charles Omenihu. Because of the fact that Drew Tranquill brings something to the linebacker room the Chiefs haven't had in years, and that is a versatile middle linebacker. The Chiefs obviously still won a Super Bowl with Anthony Hitchens and Wilson and guys like that at middle linebacker that just weren't good. They were just gaping holes in the middle of the defense, and the Chiefs still won a Super Bowl with that going on. You saw, though, that it was starting to catch up with the Chiefs, though, in 2021 and in 2022, even with Nick Bolton in place. Nick Bolton, who is an absolute stud, an old-school style of linebacker that's a downhill runner that will tackle anybody at any time, open field, middle of a cluster, it doesn't matter. This guy will tackle everybody. This is not to take away from Nick Bolton, but the Chiefs were clearly, over these last 2 years, missing versatility in the linebacker room in the middle of the field. Willie Gay on the outside, that will linebacker style, he's great at it. He's a freak athlete. Leo Chenal continues to blossom into that guy on the outside as well. But the middle of the defense, you're seeing, when Tranquill gets that green dot, something special goes on, man. He's been an absolute animal in the middle of the defense. And again, if the Chiefs decide when Nick Bolton gets healthy to bring him back and have him start, that's great. But guys, I do not want to see Drew Tranquill's numbers lessen. And the biggest reason why is because this defense hasn't missed a beat. You would think if a guy like Nick Bolton, as valuable as we think he is, as talented as he is, as great as he is, you would think losing a guy like that, your general in your defense, the guy with wears the green dot, you would think that there would be some big gaping hole in your defense. There hasn't been. Guys, in the 4 games that Nick Bolton has started this season, the Chiefs' defense has allowed 112 yards per game, 4.4 yards per rush. In the 7 games that he hasn't played, the Chiefs are giving up 114 yards in rushing yards, 4.7 yards per carry. That is almost identical to what it is with him. So if the strength of Nick Bolton is he stuffs the run game, he makes big tackles, if we're talking about a difference of 2 yards per game in the run game, and let's not pretend that when he was gone, the Chiefs didn't face the Eagles, the Raiders, the Dolphins, the Chargers, the Vikings, teams that can, the Jets. All those teams can run the ball. The Bears without Nick Bolton. They faced all those teams without Nick Bolton. And they still were able to have almost the exact same numbers against those offenses. But also the fact, guys, that this defense, I'm all about setting the pace. And Spags has aced that this season. Guys, in the 7 games that Nick Bolton hasn't played or started, rather, these are the first drives for the opposing offenses. Punt, fumble, punt, touchdown, punt, touchdown. That's setting the pace. I'm not saying they couldn't do that without Nick Bolton. What I am saying, though, is they're doing it with Drew Tranquill. Something is working. So where you're giving the offense, your offense, a chance. Yes, the offense continues to struggle. They had a really good game last week. Hopefully they continue to build off of it. But they're setting the pace where they're not allowing their offense to take the field with a deficit. They're allowing their offense to dictate the outcome on that side as well. And Drew Tranquill is a very, very large part of that. Am I saying that when Nick Bolton's back, I don't want him to play? Hell no. I want that dude to play. But I'm saying when it comes to starting the game off, first set of downs that the Chiefs defense is on the field, I want Tranquill in the middle of this defense. I want him playing out there because I think he sets that pace with the ability to be a better pass protector and has been just as effective in the run game. Just as effective. I know people don't want to give him that credit, but it is true. This defense is playing just as good against the run game as it was with Nick Bolton. And third down conversions. Guys, so it's a 4-game sample size for Nick Bolton. It's a smaller sample size than 7, obviously, 3 more games. The Chiefs were only allowing 35% of the third down conversions with Nick Bolton in those 4 games. It's 38% in 7. So with 3 more games, only 3% difference. That's significant, guys. Think about how many more attempts that is. So they're still keeping it in the mid-30s with or without Nick Bolton. That's what I'm trying to say, guys, is I think that this isn't a slam on Nick. This is praise to Tranquil and the way the defense has played with him on the field more than Nick Bolton. I think they need to kind of separate it, and kind of how, everyone was against the wide receiver room and doing the rotation. I do think it can and will work with Nick Bolton and Tranquil playing a little bit of a transitional football where they're kind of back and forth and in the middle of the defense, because quite frankly, that'll keep offenses on their heels. Most times it's offenses keeping defenses on the heels. When they see Tranquil and Bolton moving back and forth in the middle of the defense, you don't really know what's coming. I like that idea. That's my opinion. It probably won't be the way it goes, but I just think that I like the idea of 𝚂𝙿𝙀 and Willie Gay getting as many snaps, because those guys are physical freaks and they've been absolutely balling this year. I like those guys staying on the field as much as possible, and I like Tranquil with his versatility being on the field as much as possible. So I just hope that his snaps don't dwindle at all, guys, because at this point, and I'll say this, and then this might sound bold, I know Tranquil is older than Nick Bolton by about 3 or 4 years. Guys, if it comes down to a long-term solution, I'd rather have Nick or Tranquil for the next 2 years than Bolton for the next 4 or 5, because it's also going to be a lot less expensive for the Chiefs to keep Drew Tranquil at this stage of his career. And quite frankly, I like versatile linebackers more than I like old-school linebackers at this time of the NFL, where he's not a downhill guy. He's not a guy that's going to just tackle all the time. He's a guy that can protect in pass games and passing lanes, disrupt a lot of things a little bit more than Nick Bolton does. So at this time, that's where I stand on it. Maybe my opinion will change. I don't think so, because now we have an 11-game sample size, and I've seen both, and I like this style of the defense a little bit better. But I want to hear Trevor's thoughts, because I haven't heard his yet. Where's your takeaway on this?
Well, to quote the great life philosopher Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, it doesn't matter what you think. Listen, man, when
to quote Stone Cold Steve Austin, how about that?
Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah, whiskey. Here, more whiskey.
No, I mean, like I said, it doesn't matter, because when Nick Bolton's healthy and he's already back at practice with that club on his hand, when he's back, he's going to be the starter for this team. And I still am above the. You know me, I'm a big Nick Bolton guy. I do like that old school kind of linebacker. I think it works. It's worked for this defense. He's been a guy who's made some of the biggest plays since he's been here on the defensive side of things in the Super Bowl, the biggest stage. That's a guy you want to have on the field. He's a guy that has a nose for the ball. Say what you want. I mean, I know Tranquil is the more versatile player. And listen. And no way, I see them eye to eye right now. I think they're both, they do different things, but I think as far as impact, I think they're both equal. Right. I do. I think Tranquil's done nothing but prove that. This defense has been elite with the absence of Nick Bolton, a guy I'm very high on, a guy I love, a guy I would love to pay. We're probably not going to, but a guy I would love to see stick around. I think he could be, his story is cool. He's a Missouri kid, all these things. I love stories like that. I think he's a highly talented guy, a guy who I don't think we've seen the best of yet, because he's still a young dude. And that position are typically guys that play in the NFL for a long time. And I think he's a guy that can have, 12, 13, 15-year career. He's one of those kind of guys, I think. So I don't think that take is hot, honestly. I think it's anyone who's watched the Chiefs on a weekly basis and paid attention to this defense and paid attention to Drew Tranquil when he's on the field and what he does, his impact, it's obvious. You know what I mean? I don't think that take should be even looked at as a hot take. I agree with you, man. I think if he did end up taking this job, I wouldn't be mad about it either. Right. I'm a big Nick Bolton guy, but if we can keep him fresh and have him as a rotational guy, I do think Nick's a little bit better against the run, in my opinion. I think he's a bigger boy. Drew's a little undersized for that position, but that's also what gives him the ability to fly around a little quicker, have that first step, and be that guy that can beat tight ends and certain wide receivers to the edge. If they're like a quick bubble screen or something like that, we've seen him blow up those plays because he's so freaking fast and so instinctually gifted. I love that. I think him and Bolton both have actually really good instincts for those kind of plays and blowing those plays up and having a nose for the ball. But I wouldn't be mad, man, if Drew won this job. I don't think that happens. Hence my Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson quote. I don't think it matters because I think this is Nick Bolton's job still. I don't think he's getting Wally pipped here in any way. But I think just this continues to go back to the brilliance of Veach, and I know Veach has been catching strays lately, and for good reason, for the lackluster offense this year and lack of talent. But this Veach has just absolutely owned and been a brilliant mind for the defensive depth that he's built here, and the youth that he's built here. Drew Tranquil being one of the older guys on this defense, go figure. And he's been one of the absolute stars and standouts for this defense this year. Maybe the MVP of this defense outside of maybe Chris Jones. and obviously Snead, McDuffie, guys like that. But Drew Tranquill's mentioned in those with that group right now. He's been just as impactful as all those guys. And it may not be as sexy, it may not pop off the screen as much, but the guys that do that, he's out there doing it every week, making big plays. And listen, to have this discussion right now, who should have that job between Nick fucking Bolton and Drew fucking Tranquill, is a fun discussion as a Chiefs fan to talk about this defense and all the talent we have and who should start over who and who should be the rotational guy. I don't care, man. If Nick loses his job, fine. That means Nick's coming in every third, fourth play with fresh legs. I'm cool with that too. So, listen, I don't think Drew took this job because I think Spags just been coaching his ass off, and I think whoever's out there right now, I don't think Spags can miss. I think Spags just has so much toys right now to play with that it's just been such a creative and fun unit this year. But I think when Nick Bolton's healthy and he's ready to go, I think it's his job.
Let me just add this one more piece, and we'll move on to my third and final topic on Lance Rants, and then we're going to move to the Chiefs-Packers preview. Yes, for the record, I want to make sure I make this very clear because for some reason this take has been misconstrued as an anti-Nick Bolton take.
Yeah.
This defense, without question, is better with Nick Bolton than it is without him.
Yeah.
Okay, I hope everybody understands that's not what I'm not trying to make a case that they should not play Nick Bolton. This dude is an absolute tackling machine, and you want to have guys out there that can finish plays. Without question, especially at linebacker. My concern, though, is, and I think this is a concern that some of you guys have and you don't even really know it yet. It's kind of like one of those like on-set things where you just don't know it's like an underlying concern, is the fact that are we really sure that Nick Bolton can stay healthy this season? He's been hurt now twice.
Yeah, those kind of freaky things.
He's missed 7 games.
Yeah, so, a significant wrist injury.
Right.
Sure.
So what I'm saying is to maybe avoid that happening again, he plays fewer snaps than he has been. You work him in the rotation, and also at the same time keeps the rhythm in place for Tranquill and this defense with Tranquill in the scenario that Nick Bolton re-aggravates the injury or gets another one. Think about it, man. Like, we see how this goes throughout the NFL seasons. When a guy gets hurt, sometimes it starts to tack on. We've seen guys even like Cooper Kupp. Once he got hurt, man, it seemed like he always got another injury, or the injury re-aggravated. It just couldn't keep him in rhythm, and it throws off the Rams' offense. So for Nick Bolton, it's like, well, if you want to conserve it, look at what they're doing with 𝚂𝙺 𝚂𝙾. It's the same thing. They haven't played him as much because of the fact they're trying to keep him healthy for bigger games. So what I'm saying is Nick Bolton, maybe they're going to try to conserve him a little bit for a playoff run and also to keep because this defense is in rhythm. It stays in rhythm whether he's on the field or not. Maybe Tranquill just needs to be able to have more snaps like that so that way, if in fact Bolton was to get hurt again, which is a likely scenario now, because I said twice an 11-game stretch is a big deal. I want to see this defense stay in as much rhythm as possible.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the difference between like the Cooper Kupp comparison and the 𝚂𝙺 𝚂𝙾 comparison and all that, those guys are dealing with like joint issues and like knees and hammies and soft tissue. Like Cooper Kupp's was always like a hamstring and a knee. Those are things that will ruin your rhythm and can take your step away. We're talking about a dislocated wrist. That's a freak injury.
What was his first injury? I really don't remember the first injury.
I think it was he rolled his ankle. I think it was like he rolled it. He sprained. I think he had like a low sprain. It wasn't anything serious, but like this isn't something that is gonna like ruin his speed and his ability to run and be there, make plays. I mean, he could re-aggravate the wrist.
Right.
But I don't think they're going to bring him back if the inflammation's still there and all that still. If he's dealing with a lot of pain still, I don't think they're going to do that. He's playing with the club right now. He's had a successful surgery, over a month ago.
He is on the 21-day.
Yeah, his window's open.
Too.
He's been practicing.
Yeah.
So I think I don't think this is something where it's. I think it's different than 𝚂𝙺 𝚂𝙾 with like the lingering soft tissue, hammies, and.
No, I was saying more of like how the team protects 𝚂𝙺 from himself.
Yeah.
Because now you're seeing them like kind of like harboring him, where it's like, well, let's just keep him in this area here, and then
he's like what I'm saying though is he's dealt with like soft tissue.
No, yeah,
injuries.
I don't want to compare
those
the
are
injury.
ones that can continue to be a season-long thing.
I don't mean to compare the injury. I'm talking about just the way that the Chiefs are handling 𝚂𝙺 because they know he's fragile, he's injury prone, and now with Bolton having multiple injuries in halfway through the season, it's like, well, maybe we have to kind of do the same thing with him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because that we want him on the field.
I mean, I have no problem holding off till playoff time.
I would prefer to see him in
that's
rhythm.
what was going to be the case to begin with.
Yeah, I wouldn't want his first game to be back in the playoffs because then you're talking about him being off 10, 11 weeks.
He was a high ankle sprain for Bolton.
Thank you, good call, Trevor.
Yeah.
Then thank you, chat, for telling us.
So those are just freaky
Yeah, no, I get it. I don't
Kelsey's
mean
played
to,
through that already.
Yeah,
you know
I don't mean to compare the injuries. I'm saying that because of the fact he's injured.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you start to see that like things sometimes get tacked on.
But he was healthy all year last year.
Guys get the injury bug sometimes. Guys just get the injury bug sometimes.
I mean, a dislocated wrist is a freaky thing.
That is a freaky.
You know what I mean? So
I heard it's one of the most painful.
When was the last time you heard about a
too?
dislocated wrist? Like, that X-ray was wild, bro.
That's brutal.
His whole wrist was separate. That was
brutal.
Oh, that was brutal. I'd never seen him react that way too. He was screaming on the sidelines. But yeah, I don't think he's an injury-prone guy by any means. Linebackers tend to get in the scuff of things, and things can get nasty and freaky things can happen. I think Nick Bolton's an absolute stud, and I think he's going to be fine when he comes back.
One more question, because I know you've been a guy that's been big on extending Nick Bolton.
Yeah.
Do these injuries concern you at all, though, about that long-term contract going to him, if in fact you would?
No, this isn't like a Sammy Watkins thing. This isn't a Darius Toney thing. This isn't a Cooper Kupp thing where it's like a possible re-aggravation of something. It's a freaky injury. He sprained an ankle and then he dislocated his whole wrist, man.
Right.
So those are just freaky things that happen. I am a guy that would love to extend Nick Bolton, but if it comes to keeping between if that affects Chris Jones signing some kind of contract here, obviously this is next season. Nick Bolton's not due till the season after next. But I'm a guy that definitely wants to keep him around. I mean, I think Drew Tranquil in the fill-in position has been damn near elite at that position this year. So, I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens. I do think Nick Bolton is a favorite of Spagnuolo, though. So, who knows, man? We got a whole other season to talk about that situation. So,
yep, we shall see when we see. Another topic I want to bring up before we do this, and we have to. It's not something I really want to talk about, but it needed to be said. Our guy, Tyreek Hill is once again. Tyreek Hill is talking about the Chiefs. At this point, man, it's starting to just get really sad. I'm going to be honest with you. Before, I would let it emotionally make me upset. I've been on 810. I've been on other shows. I've been on this show. And I've let it, like, really, even to the point where Tyreek's replied to me on Twitter. It used to really get me pissed off when he would talk about the Chiefs. I'm like, dude, you got everything you wanted. Why this? Why this? He was on Robert Griffin III, a guy I like a lot, RG3's podcast this week. And it got brought up, of course, and Tyreek did not hesitate to talk about it. But I'm gonna play this clip for you guys, and I'm gonna give you guys my immediate response about it. And it may not be what you guys are expecting, but I do think this is what is now taking place with this clip out there now. When I finally heard it and listened to it, I actually went and listened to the podcast to see if I missed any context. I didn't. This is actually a very well clipped tweet from RG3. He didn't leave any context out, so I appreciate him doing that, because sometimes you have to do that to know the full story of what's going on. But this is what Tyreek Hill said in response to RG talking about the Chiefs.
Pat had Kelsey, and I was kind of jealous. I was hurt. Patrick, you ain't never invite me over to your house like you did Kelsey. You always invited Kelsey. That's why we here where we at now.
It was almost 1 and 2, and with Tua, you are for sure 1.
I've never been anybody's side chick before. Never. Always, my whole life. High school, middle school, all the quarterbacks, main chick. I go to KC, now I'm the side chick. I'm like, what am I doing with that? You taking me to Joe's barbecue. No, I don't want no barbecue. I want to go to the fancy restaurants.
You want to go to Nobu?
I want to go to Nobu.
Okay, I'm gonna say this because I'm not emotionally invested in this anymore. I love Tyreek Hill and I appreciate everything he did, helping the Chiefs get to multiple Super Bowls and win one of them. He's the most dynamic player I think that's ever played in a Chiefs uniform. There's never been a deadlier player to wear that jersey outside of maybe Jamal Charles. Tyreek Hill finally told the truth. We've heard him talk about this nonstop for the last 2 years. It's coming up on 2 years, guys, since Tyreek's been gone. This January, it'll be 2 years. Can you believe it's already been almost 2 years?
Wow.
We're a month away from it being 2 years since Tyreek Hill has not been a Chief. And this is still what he's talking about. He doesn't avoid this conversation ever. He never says, like, you know what, man, I've made my peace. We're where we're at. I enjoyed my time. I love Pat. I love Travis. I love those guys. I love Big Red. But I'm a Dolphin, and I would just rather talk about that.
Well, apparently this Dolphins team is better than 2019 Chiefs.
I didn't even acknowledge that, because we both know that he doesn't believe that. I think that's just all talking about the confidence he has in this team, which I actually do respect, because of the fact that I like that he does believe his team can win the Super Bowl. I appreciate that. He's wrong, but I do appreciate that.
A little delusional, but yeah.
Yes, very much delusional. I've heard all the content. I've heard all the comments that Tyreek, you have all of us have listened to everything he has said on his own podcast, other shows, everything. he finally told the truth, guys. He's trying to say all these other reasons why he left. It's always another reason. But listen to what he just said. He broke it down microscopically as to what the real reason was. And Trevor and I, we know people. Trevor and I are not passive-aggressive people. We'll say what we need to say, and we'll get it out there, and sometimes it gets ugly, but you know what? That's authentic. There's a lot of people out there that are a little more passive-aggressive and like to be a little more tongue-in-cheek because they don't like confrontation. That's what Tyreek Hill is. He's a very passive-aggressive person. And he said in that clip, he goes, this is why I'm no longer there. Because Trevor made a point a couple weeks ago about how, Tyreek basically admitted that he sabotaged the contract talks to get himself out of Kansas City. Guys, that's true. Because of this. Because he felt like the side chick. He didn't feel like he was Patrick Mahomes' number one homie. He didn't feel included like Travis Kelce was.
140 plus targets wasn't enough.
Yeah, he didn't feel like he was see, that's the point. Is that no matter how much usage Tyreek got, no matter how many great plays he was a part of, or how many great games he helped win, how many times they were in the Super Bowl because of him and his contributions, that was never going to be enough because what Tyreek Hill is chasing is something that can never be substantiated or satisfied here in Kansas City.
It's almost like Patrick Mahomes recognized a character flaw.
He always wanted to be the guy. And as long as he was with if Alex Smith was still the Chiefs quarterback, that very well could be the reality. Where Tyreek Hill is the number one figure out here in Kansas City and everybody loves the cheetah. He's the big name because you guys remember back in the Jamal Charles days, it was Jamal Charles. He was the guy everybody loved. He was the chief everybody adored. Tyreek Hill was never going to be that here with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Could you imagine this season if Tyreek Hill was still here and you have the whole Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce thing going on, Patrick Mahomes being the mogul that he is? No one would be talking about Tyreek Hill this season, even if he was still on the same pace that he is as far as breaking the all-time single-season receiving record. So this is, to me, guys, we finally now understand fully that it's Tyreek Hill and him having hurt feelings. And I'm not even trying to diss him. He's actually being for real. And I appreciate the authenticity, finally, where he's not trying to put on a show. He's admitting to us, I want to be the guy. I want to be what everybody loves and adores the most. And that's just his way. That's why he belongs in Miami. So my point is, and the only reason I'm even bringing it up is, then why are you still talking about it?
Well, yeah, and we got a comment from our guy John Harrison. He says, this is from John. This is not my information. This is John saying his piece here. Go do research if you question me. Tyreek wasn't invited to Mahomes' wedding in Hawaii, but other players were. Obviously, Kelce, D-Rob, Matthew, CEH, and even Orlando Brown, not Tyreek. Tyreek did something during halftime at Cincy championship game. Tyreek burnt a bridge then, but the Chiefs don't talk about it. He was traded that April.
John's not wrong.
Well, listen, man, I'm going to say this. Patrick Mahomes obviously is a family man. Is probably just cautious of who. This is not a shot at Tyreek in any way. I don't know Tyreek personally, so I'm not speaking on his character. But based on the moves that Patrick Mahomes makes, he's probably careful who he has around his family and who he has around his wife and his house. You know what I mean? And obviously, him and Travis kicked it off and had a great bromance from day one. I mean, how could you not with a dominant player like Travis Kelce? And obviously, Tyreek is a dominant player as well. But there's kind of always been a lingering characteristic issue with Tyreek Hill, for being honest. I know there's some things leading into the league that the Chiefs stood by him and he was, proven innocent apparently. But there's probably things that he gets himself into and the way he, conducts himself maybe that wasn't very appealing to Patrick Mahomes. On the field, it's a different story. That duo was incredible. That trio was arguably the best trio of all time for that sample size. But I think there were some bridges burnt. You know what I mean? We haven't seen a lot of talk between Tyreek and Patrick Mahomes. We've seen Kelce and Tyreek dapping it up after games and stuff like that, but you didn't see a lot of that from Patrick Mahomes.
That's true.
You know what I mean? You don't see a lot of that. And I tend to watch what people do instead of listen to what people say. And as far as body language and as far as like what we see actually between the two of them physically, not a lot of dapping up and brotherly love between those two since the separation. So
I tend to agree. I believe that Patrick still loves and respects Tyreek, but I do, from what I heard as well, when Patrick and Brittany got married, that Tyreek wasn't in attendance. So it does lead me to believe that is something that did take place. I never heard it actually verbally mentioned to me, hey, Tyreek was not invited. But I have a hard time believing that Tyreek cares this much about something like this, would have been invited, didn't show up.
Yeah.
So that does lead me to believe that John's right about that.
He definitely sounds like a jaded ex.
John's not the only person that said that to me. So I will say that's got to be probably true.
And it makes sense, too, the way that first half ended.
Yeah.
In Cincy. Yeah. With that bad pass from Patrick Mahomes to Tyreek that failed, you know what I mean?
And it doesn't help anything that Tyreek also had a ball hit him right in the chest to end the game, essentially.
Right.
So, you know, that was that. But the reason I brought all this up, guys, is because of the fact that I think that of all the things we've heard from Tyreek since he left the Chiefs, since the Chiefs traded him to Miami, I think for the first time we can really sit here and go, that is Tyreek telling the truth.
He's hurt.
He's hurt.
He's hurt.
He wants to be what Patrick Mahomes is. He wants to be what Travis Kelce is, and that was just simply never. It's not even. Here's the crazy thing. I'm going to defend Chiefs fans for a second, because I really do believe we have some of the best fans in all of sports, and I genuinely believe that. We can be toxic at times,
question.
But that's also because of how much they care about this team, how much this team matters to us in Kansas City. You could talk about it from a geographical standpoint because we don't have a whole lot here going for us. We don't have the beach and a bunch of other cool things like a lot of coastal areas do, but that is still the truth. It's still like the Buffalo Bills fans love the Bills. They're obsessed with them. The Green Bay Packers, obsessed with them. Denver Broncos fans, obsessed with them. Like, there's some fan bases that just, those are flagship fan bases. This is in Kansas City. That's exactly what we have here. Yeah. I think what he's undermining or not valuing enough is how much Tyreek actually was loved. I mean, you got to remember, guys, and this isn't just from the fan base. This is from the top. How many times this fan base and this team stood by his side in some of the craziest shit that's ever happened here. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay what happened to Javon Belcher and any of these other situations we've had here in Kansas City. That is brutal. It's horrible. It's tragic. But Tyreek Hill has had his own set of tragedies in his own life while a Chief. And this team could have easily said, you know what? Fuck this guy. We're cutting him. We're going to trade him. We're going to get out of this because we don't want this, because we know Clark Hunt is not a guy that likes to have controversy surrounding his franchise.
You know Andy Reid stood in for him, bro.
Stood in for him. Brett Veach stood in for him.
Yeah.
Even Trevor, there was times when, I'll admit it, when I first heard about the story of Tyreek Hill and we thought he beat his son, I was like, man, we get rid of this dude.
Yeah.
We don't need this dude. I was of that belief. And when we found the truth about it, we're like, oh, now I get why the Chiefs stood by this guy, because they knew better. They knew the whole story. Yeah. And they stood by this dude. Even when people were still calling him names at stadiums and things of that nature, they not only stood by him, they went and paid him. Mm-hmm. They gave him an extension that offseason. So I love Tyreek Hill. I hope one day they can fix this shit and he can bang the drum. He can have his name on the Ring of Honor.
He's one of the greatest Chiefs players of all time, man.
I hate the fact that this is what we have to do here with this guy, because
I love that guy.
He's one of the true great Chiefs players of all time, like Trevor just said. I hope that he can finally get and comprehend. Maybe it'll have to be after he retires. Where, man, those Kansas Cityans really loved me. Yeah. The Chiefs really loved me. Like, I was adored there. Yeah, I wasn't Patrick. Yeah, I wasn't Travis Kelce. But who is?
Ego is a hell of a drug.
I mean, look at the legends of Kansas City sports lore. There's only a few that you can even compare. Like Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, George Brett, Derek Thomas, Lynn Dawson.
Well, listen, life is all about trade-offs. Right? There are no such thing as solutions in life. Everything's a trade-off. You're either choosing one path that gets you this direct result, and you're choosing this other path that gives you the opposite direct result. Right? There's no solutions. Him moving to Miami was not a solution. Well, it was a trade-off.
Right.
I do not think he's going to win a championship in Miami. I don't think that's going to happen. If he would have stayed in Kansas City, he would have had an extra ring last year and probably a couple more at least in his career here in Kansas City. Trade-offs. He's going to get those targets. He's going to get those yards. He's probably going to get 2,000 yards and set the new milestone of the NFL record. That's a trade-off. He's going to earn that. And he's an incredible athlete, and he's probably going to gain that accolade this season. But there's a trade-off. You know what I mean? The Chiefs are looking to going back-to-back champs here. So, I mean, he made his decision. I love the guy forever. He's forever created some of the best memories of my lifetime as a Chiefs fan. Every time I watch him on Sundays, I audibly say, miss you.
Yeah.
Every time I see him make a big play, I'm like, I miss that guy. Because I do, man. He's etched in my heart.
Yeah, he's the most fun. I've never had more fun watching a football player in my life.
The most electric, between him and Jamal Charles, the two most electric Chiefs players of all time.
I mean, honestly, like of all football players I've ever watched, it's like Barry Sanders, Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Like those are like the two best, most exciting players to watch.
I still, to this day, one of the most incredible moments in NFL history of any team when his name was being chanted before that punt return. And he took it to the house when his name was being chanted by all of Arrowhead.
Right.
It was the most bone-chilling moment of my life as a Chiefs fan.
And it had to be against the Raiders, too. Was that Sunday Night Football, too, I believe?
It was just the most poetic thing, man. It was awesome. So I love that guy forever. But as a person, he's just kind of strange.
Get your takes in on this, guys, if you have any, when it comes to the Tyreek Hill clip with RG3, and go listen to it yourself. I would recommend you guys go listen to that podcast as well. RG actually has a pretty good podcast. I just found out about it a couple weeks ago, too, which was
highly
good timing.
Intellectual guy. I love that.
Very
guy.
highly intellectual. Very funny dude, too. I know he gets a lot of crap for being kind of a cheesy guy, but I'm cheesy as fuck myself, so I don't care. But that's where we stand on it right now. I wanted to throw that out there before we got to the main topic at hand, which is the Chiefs and the Packers.
Go, man.
Let's get into this, guys, because I think that this is a matchup that we should very much be paying close attention to because
we didn't think it would be this big of a deal, but
definitely didn't. Well, I did have the Packers at 9-8 this year because I believed in their defense, which at times their defense has been okay.
Very spotty.
They actually are outside of the Chiefs, and I think the Ravens. The Chiefs have given up the fewest games of 25 points, which is 0.
Yeah.
Outside of that is the Packers and Ravens. I think have given up 1.
They haven't played too many great offenses, though.
Yes.
I will say that. Detroit's probably the best offense they played, and they actually played extremely well against them this past week.
Yeah, you guys know that I like to give the over-unders and all that stuff to start this whole thing off. So where it stands right now, Chiefs are visiting the Packers. Obviously, it's in Lambeau. It's the first time Patrick's getting to play at Lambeau, which he's very excited about. The Chiefs are -6 favorites right now. They're getting 6 points on the road, which is a very massive number.
Yep.
A lot of credit. The over-under is 42.5, so take that for what you want. Betting people out there, just for the record, I did
take the over.
Yeah, I think there could be some points scored. But the biggest thing I want to talk about is actually our guy John Harrison commented earlier today, and I wanted to get this because he said it was too much for too long of a comment for the show. But I did wanted to put it out there because John does diligent work, and we always appreciate his contributions here as our unofficial statistician,
pro
if you
bono.
will. Yes, our guy. I always appreciate John's numbers that he puts out there, man.
Yep.
But this is from John Harrison in regards to the Packers and what defenses they have faced. The last 3 pass defenses the Packers have faced, they faced Detroit, Pittsburgh, LA, or the Chargers, who are 20, 25th, and 32nd in rankings. And watch the film. The Steelers play bad zone defense. Guys wide open. If they don't get into sacks, they be dead last. And who hasn't thrown the ball on the Bolts this year? They're awful in pass D. Also, Green Bay defense ranks 27th against the run at 135.2 yards per game. But in the last 3, they've given up 495 or 165 yards per game. The 205 to Pittsburgh, it's shocking. A defense should sell out to stop the Steelers stop them from running, and watch them and force them to pass to win, which they don't do well, and Green Bay wouldn't stop them, and they got gashed up the middle far too much. The Chiefs need to run Pacheco. Also, the last 2 games they won, they are +1 and +3 in turnovers. The Chiefs don't make mistakes and run the ball. They should win by 10+, 26-13. On another note, let me find that. On another note, some people are concerned about Chiefs' run D, giving up 113 a game. The last 3 games, 118, but look at the teams they played. Miami, Philly, 2 of the top running games in the league, and Josh Jacobs, who's the NFL leading rusher last year.
Yep.
A few big runs have elevated their run totals in some games, but that's gap control, and they should fix that. 1,000% agree with everything our guy John Harrison just said, because that is exactly how I think this game is going to go, because I don't know if you guys have seen it as well. And outdoor stadiums, it does matter. It looks like they're going to have snow. It's going to be in the mid to low 20s. It's going to be a cold, snowy, classical Lambeau game, which honestly, I love that this is happening, because this is Patrick Mahomes getting the full experience of Lambeau. That crowd's going to be loud, energetic. I actually do think there's going to be quite a few Chiefs fans up there from what I hear. I think there's going to be around 10,000 Chiefs fans there. Lambeau's still got one of the best fan bases in the world for Green Bay Packers fans who literally live right around the stadium and own that damn place. It's going to be raucous. They're going to bring it. Patrick knows that. It's going to be loud. But I think that because of because we know the offenses have their problems, but to have a game like they just did against the Raiders, technically on the road, is the perfect situation to have going into a raucous environment like this against a team and a fan base that knows they're on the precipice of being a playoff team. They're in the hunt, guys. This Packers team is not out of the hunt, and they've won, I think, 3 of their last 4 games, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So, yes, there is context to that. There's further context to it as well because I think Jordan Love has been balling out. Dude's been playing some damn good football lately. But he has been facing some of the shittiest pass defenses, our guy John Harrison just said, but against top 10 defenses. This is what I want to focus on because he did mention the Steelers, but there's some number context to that as well. They have faced only 2 top 10 scoring defenses this year. It's the Saints and Steelers. They went 1-1 and averaged 18.5 points per game in those games. Jordan Love in those games completed 52% of his passes. He had 274 yards per game, which is good, but when you're only completing 52% of your passes, that means you're throwing the ball a ton. He had 3 touchdowns to 3 interceptions with a 70 quarterback rating. The Chiefs currently have the second ranked scoring defense in the NFL.
Yep.
Guys, I you know me. I will give you guys the realest, most unpopular opinion when it presents itself. I don't have an unpopular opinion about this matchup. The Chiefs should go in there and kick the shit out of the Packers. And I say that respectfully to a team that is coached by a guy I like a lot, Matt LaFleur. I like Jordan Love. Don't love him. I don't know what he is yet, but I like what I've been seeing from him because he looks confident. It isn't just that he's putting up numbers. He has poise in the pocket. These young receivers and Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson and Reed, they're starting to come together. But guys, there's also a missing piece to this offense, their best player, and that's Aaron Jones. He won't be playing in this game. That's a massive loss because, to John Harrison's point, the Chiefs have been giving up a little bit here and there on the ground game. Some chunk plays. That's where Aaron Jones would come into play. Also, the fact he's really good at catching the ball out of the backfield, which would give their offense another dimension to their game. A.J. Dillon, solid backup, big physical running back. But, guys, I think on the last game he had 14 rushes for 47 yards. Like 18 of them were on one rush. Outside of that, he was averaging like 3 yards a carry.
He's a goal line back.
This Chiefs defense, guys, is built for games like this. And quite frankly, I have to brag about them because look, these young receivers are coming about for the Packers, no doubt. But look at the receivers the Chiefs have not only faced this year, but have shut their shit down. We're talking about Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams, guys like that did not have breakout games. A.J. Brown, who had 1 catch against the Chiefs. 1. A.J. freaking Brown, who's on pace for like 1,800 yards this year and like 17 touchdowns. God, shut the hell down. Why in the world should I sit here and be worried about this matchup when I know what this defense is? When I know that this defense can win this game basically single-handedly. Because they've shut down better quarterbacks, better situations, harsher conditions, with better options. This Packers team is not on the same level of the Chiefs. I get the Chiefs play down to the other team's levels. But this late in the season, if we believe this is a Super Bowl caliber team in the Chiefs, then we better believe that this defense is going to bring it, and this offense is going to carry some of that shit they had in Las Vegas this last week into Green Bay. I'm not saying they're going to go up there and drop 31, but they could. Because what Trevor said earlier, this Packers defense is very spotty. And against good teams, they tend to struggle. Their secondary, I don't even think Jair Alexander is playing in this game. He has a bad back. He's missed the last 3 games. Yep. And he's their only real hope amongst their secondary.
And bringing him back in a snowy environment with the Chiefs is just a bad idea.
That's a really bad idea. But let's say they do. Guys, the Chiefs did find something in Rashee Rice. What did we say when I gave you guys a couple weeks ago the 3 solutions that we have to helping this offense? It was unleashing Jerick McKinnon. He was hurt, so I understand why they couldn't do that. But it does sound like he may be able to give it a go. He was questionable this week at practice. Yeah. Makes sense of the Kadarius Toney trade. Haven't really done that. He's also banged up, so I get that as well. But the third point, and the most important point of all of them, was what? You got to utilize Rashee Rice. If you're going to play him like you are, when the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago had him play 41 snaps, he only got 2 targets, that doesn't make sense. Throw him the ball. And then he got what, Trevor? 9-10 targets against the Raiders.
107 yards.
107 yards, touchdown, best game of his career. Build on it. Let this dude cook. Get him on those little shallow crosses like you did against the Raiders. There is nobody on this Packers defense that's going to be able to stop those.
Throw that side check the ball.
Here's the best part. This means that Travis Kelce's going to be open. He ain't going to be double teamed anymore. You know why? Because there's a legitimate threat that the opposing defense is going to have to worry about now with Rashee Rice. This is also going to make the jobs for guys like Sky Moore and MVS, who unfortunately still have to play for this team. They're going to have opportunities because you saw just last week, Sky Moore had a couple nice old dump-off screens that he got some yards off of. Everything is going to start opening up once guys like Jerick McKinnon and Rashee Rice start getting the adequate targets. Now, if Jerick McKinnon does play this game, I hope he will get his adequate targets because I believe this offense will open up even more so, and it'll make it easier for Rashee Rice to do what he's been doing. But the fact is, man, if you get these guys in rhythm, you get Travis Kelce, you get Rashee Rice in rhythm, this offense is going to open up, and I agree 100% with what John said. There is no reason in the world why Isaiah Pacheco doesn't get 20 rushes in this game. Not only because of the weather.
Or 20 touches.
Yeah, not even because of the weather, but because of the fact this dude has been absolutely balling this year. Oh. He's on pace for 1,037 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns this season.
By the way, do you see the clips of him blocking?
Yes.
Those chip blocks for Pat?
Yes, against the Dolphins when he was
that shit, that was sexy as hell. I was getting a partial chub watching that.
I'm partial, dude. I couldn't stand up.
He wasn't.
I was throwing ice down there.
He was blocking like he was running. His feet were just like,
dude,
hilarious.
He is a maniac, and he is the guy that is perfect for this offense because they need that out of the backfield. Yeah. So Pacheco, utilize the shit out of this kid, man. He's an animal.
Run him into the ground.
Feed him, yes. Make this Packers defense because they're horrible against the run. Yeah. Let him go out there and set the tempo. And like I said, your pass game will open up once you're utilizing the RPOs, making Pacheco be respected. You can dump off screens to Rashee Rice, Jerick McKinnon, whoever. Noah Gray's getting involved in those little dump off screens too. Yeah. Let these guys cook with their feet. Don't make it all on Pat, because I'm going to tell you right now, I know the Chiefs have scored a lot of points against the Chargers, against the Bears, but I feel like against the Raiders, they looked the most comfortable because Patrick Mahomes was getting the ball out of his hands quick.
Once they were down 14, boom. Yes.
Yeah, well, obviously, but I'm saying like when they clicked, when they finally clicked, you saw like it looks easy. Yeah. They're moving the ball. Like Patrick's putting the thread in the needle all over the
guys
field.
In space, man.
Exactly.
Like John said last week, just simple old school West Coast offense.
You got to go with the hits.
Get the ball out quick. Get those quick plays. The Sky Moore looked good too. He's good with the ball in his hands.
Go with the classics,
get the
man.
Ball out quick, man.
Go with what works. In this offense, I get it, guys, and I will not relinquish. I will not lay off this point. They don't have enough at wide receiver for you to say like, oh, the wide receivers are fixed. That's not going to happen. Yeah. But you have one young dude who's showing you that he got what it takes, and you have some nice role players around him. It's enough to make sense of this offense to win another Super Bowl. This is a game where you can absolutely build off what you just did against the Raiders, because this defense against the Packers, although we'll be fired up, ready to go, Christian Watson, all those guys on the offensive side with Jordan Love are going to feel confident, but against this defense, I don't think they're going to have enough to score to beat the Chiefs. I don't think that's going to be the case. The point is, I want to see the offense continue to build off that. I'm very confident the Chiefs are going to win this game. I would hammer the -6 on the Chiefs because I think this is a breakout opportunity for their offense to continue to build off it. Because if the rest of the NFL sees them go up to Green Bay on Sunday Night Football, and let's say they drop 31, let's say they drop 35, you're going to tell me the rest of the AFC, I'm like, oh, fuck. This Packers team is one of the hottest teams in the NFL, just beat the shit out of their divisional rival Lions in their house on Thanksgiving, and they just got destroyed.
I'm not a big Lions guy either.
But my point remains. The Lions are one of the 3 seed in the NFC right now?
You just can't trust Jared Goff.
I get it, but I'm saying that was, dude, did you and I not pick the Lions in that game?
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
They're still the better team.
They whooped that ass.
They're still the better team in my mind. So that was a big loss for them, more than it was a big win for the Packers, in my personal opinion. That was more of a big loss for the Lions. And John just sent us a comment on here as well. Alexander is questionable along with 8 others. Eric Stokes, quarterback, is doubtful. Jones, RB, is out. They have 15 total guys listed on the injury report.
Whew. So this is not
a lot of defensive players.
Chiefs have to take this game seriously, and I know people were talking about, well, this could be a trap game. No, guys, this is Sunday Night Football standalone game. Patrick Mahomes, in
Lambeau, it's impossible to go to Lambeau and have a trap game.
Yeah, do you know what? 90%.
You're not getting up for this game. I don't know what to tell you.
90% of Patrick Mahomes' primetime games, he's covered the spread.
Right.
90%.
Yeah. I'm not worried about us, bro.
So Trevor, give me your little synopsis of this game. What do you think is going to happen? How's it going to go down?
Well, obviously, I'm a narrative guy. I like to play the narrative game, especially from my betting chops. I like to go in. So, obviously, this is a 150-yard, 5-catch touchdown game for MVS. Revenge game. No, I'm just kidding.
God, I actually welcome that.
Bro, imagine. I'm just saying, there is a narrative there. There is a narrative there.
Andy was going to try to give him one. Andy's going to try to give him one.
So, if you're... I'm just going to throw it out for anybody who's betting. I think an MVS touchdown is a
I didn't
sneaky
even see his
great
name
play.
on ESPN Bets. I didn't even see his name.
Well, ESPN Bets. I'm a DraftKings guy, so anybody who wants to put together a parlay or a straight bet, I think DraftKings is the best.
Are you going to do that this
sports
week
book.
with the group?
Yeah, I might do that this week. It's been a little. I've been down on it because I wasn't getting a lot of action. So if anyone wants to chime in, I might post that on the group. But I think an MVS overs. I think MVS overs on catches, receiving yards, and possibly a touchdown is a great. If you want to cash out some big money, throw a $20 bill on that. That might be some good dough there. But yeah. Besides that narrative, which I do like that narrative, I think that is a legitimately good narrative heading into this week with MVS maybe finally having a game this year. It'll be cool. This would be it. You know what I mean? And that secondary to me is still suspect to the Packers. The Packers are, I still think, are being overrated right now. I understand Jordan Love started out the season really hot. We all knew it was going to fall back to normal, and he was going to fall back to earth a little bit because he was like way over efficient. Things were breaking their way a little too easily. They had some big breakout plays, and but then Christian Watson, their big time playmaker and deep threat guy, was in and out this year. I think he's on the injury report again heading into this game. Romeo Doubs has been inconsistent as far as what his production is week in, week out. They've had no real running game consistently. This is a team that's struggled to really have an identity. They put together a really good game plan against Detroit, and I'll give them that. But at the same time, Jared Goff is an absolute statue in the pocket. So if you get any kind of production out of your defensive line, it's going to be a long day for Jared Goff. I'll give it to him, though. That was in Detroit. Detroit's great at home. Jared Goff's numbers are great at home. Even dating back to his L.A. days, he was great at home, a great home quarterback. So I'll give him that. They shut him down, and that trend went to bed. So I have respect for the Packers as a franchise. They tend to always find success. They've always had great quarterback play. I'm not a believer in Jordan Love in any way. I did not like that draft pick. I think he's eventually gonna be a backup in this league at some point. I don't believe in him like that. He looked good last week. He's a guy that can at times look really good. Comparable to a Justin Fields in my mind. I'm a truther for Justin Fields. But he looks incredible some games, and then he looks god awful the very next week. What is he? How is this guy even playing football right now? So I think he's that guy, and I think this is a fall back to earth moment after a big win, a big divisional win, conference win, and I just think this is a great spot for the Chiefs. I think this is Patrick Mahomes' first game starting, regular season game starting for Patrick Mahomes at Lambeau. It's prime time in Lambeau, dude. I mean, the lights are going to be bright. This is when Patrick shines. I think our offense is going to be ready to go. I think our offense is going to continue rolling like we ended last week. As long as we're finishing drives in the red zone, because we move the ball just fine. We have all year. Our only issue and why we haven't scored enough points this year is turnovers in the red zones and
drop passes
and just getting cute in the red zone too and drop passes. Yeah. So inefficiency in the red zones has only been the only reason why our offense is down this year.
Right.
We have no problem moving the ball. Patrick gets us down there almost every single time. He's had a couple bad drives, but overall, we're getting our yards. We're getting down there. Patrick Mahomes is having an incredible, as far as his completion percentage. I think it's an all-time high this year, which is crazy because he's had the most drops also this year from his receivers. I don't even know how that's possible, but that's just what it is right now.
Him.
Yeah, I mean, so listen, as long as the Chiefs go down there and finish our drives in the red zone and we put up points and we convert touchdowns, it's going to be a long, long night for the Packers, man. To me, I'm extremely confident heading into this game, as I am most weeks, because I believe that the Chiefs are just there's levels to this shit.
Right.
They're the far superior team, far superior coach, far superior quarterback, far superior defense. It's going to be a long night for Jordan Love. That offensive line is not good, and they've been without their left tackle most of the season, and he's had some really rough games, taking a lot of sacks in certain games. And I think this is another one where Chris Jones can go get him a couple. So I think this is a long night for that offensive line, and I think we win in the trenches very lopsidedly, and it's going to be a long night for the Packers. Man.
I also say this, because I did see our guy Brent was talking about how trying to force feed MVS would not be a good idea. I agree. Obviously.
I'm not saying we're going to force feed him.
I don't think MVS gets more than 4 targets in this game at best. Yeah. But I could see them scheme one open.
I mean, he could have a career game where he catches 1 for 50. You know what I mean? Yeah, but
well, the ironic part of it all is his only good game this season came against an NFC North team, the Bears. He had 5-6 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown.
He was awesome that game.
That was one game, and it happened to be an NFC North team that he is familiar with. So to that point,
I think this
might be that opportunity where the Andy Reid, draws something up in the red zone.
I'm letting you know right now, I'm putting money on it. So
they have that little outside dig route, and then MVS has a ball hit him right in the chest. Does he catch it? We'll find out.
Or a quick bubble screen to him.
Yeah,
try that out and see if he can.
Will he catch? But here's another narrative, Trevor, that we have to talk about. And this is something that, yes, it is important.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is trying to win the MVP.
Yeah.
And
run it up.
Right now, the narrative isn't necessarily on his side, where it's, he's the favorite.
Yeah.
It's Jalen Hurts right now, and Dak Prescott right behind him.
Lamar.
I honestly think Dak should be the leader right now because I think he's had the best season so far of all quarterbacks, and the fact that Seahawks game was a statement.
I still think it's Jalen Hurts. The best record in football. That game, that comeback win against Buffalo was incredible.
But to that point, we can debate that.
He accounts for so much offensive.
To that point, though.
Yeah.
Think about, let's say the Chiefs take care of business. Patrick looks awesome in this game, right?
Yeah.
Completes 70% of his passes, throws for 300 yards, couple touchdowns, whatever. They win the game.
Yeah.
Guess who the Philadelphia Eagles have to play next?
Oh, that's tough.
The Cowboys.
Yeah.
If they lose,
tough schedule the rest of the way for the both.
Or if the Cowboys' next game, the Cowboys' next game is against the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big game for Dak and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
So if one of them lose, they automatically go down. And the fact that the Cowboys' rest of their schedule is obviously Philadelphia at Dallas, then they go to Buffalo, to Miami, play the Lions, and finish off at Washington, which we know Sam Howell and those boys can beat anybody.
Yeah, they play well in that division.
Yeah.
Or in the conference.
And if you look at the Eagles' remaining schedule, it's even worse. So they just played this. Beat
the
Bills.
Yep.
That was a great game, by the way.
Game.
Now they have to play the 49ers after that. Banged up Lane Johnson. I don't know if he's playing or not.
Home dogs, dude.
Home dogs.
-2,
First 10-1 team ever to be home dogs in the NFL history.
It's crazy.
But rightfully so, because San Francisco got healthy. They're on a longer extended rest.
Yep.
And they're coming in here. I don't even know if Lane Johnson's playing. Like I said, that's a massive loss.
I think he's out.
Following this game, after having that monumentally emotional game against the Bills, because they just played the Chiefs at Arrowhead, played the Bills, have to play the Niners,
Overtime against
then
Bills.
go to Dallas, then go to the Seahawks, who are a team fighting for their playoff lives. Giants is going to be a shit show. Arizona's going to be a fight, but they'll win. And then the Giants again. But these next 3 games are huge and tough as hell. So the point is, if you look at the Chiefs' schedule, outside of these next 2 games, it's fair sailing, dude. It's so bad they took them off Monday Night Football.
Well, yeah,
because they play in a bad team in the Patriots.
And there's a path, too, where neither the Cowboys or the Eagles get the 1 seed. Sam Frank can sneak in there and still get the 1 seed. And I know that's kind of a far, because they did lose like 3 in a row.
Yeah, but they own the tiebreaker against Cowboys.
But they own the tiebreaker.
They beat the Eagles, they don't own the tiebreaker.
And the Eagles lose to the Cowboys, and they drop a couple more the rest of the way because they have a tough schedule.
Right.
And the Chiefs somehow find a way, which I fully have belief and faith that we get the 1 seed still in the AFC. If we win the AFC, we win out the rest of the season or drop maybe 1 more, and the Ravens drop a couple. And
Which they will.
You know what I mean? Yeah, because they have a tough schedule.
Yes.
If we get the 1 seed in the AFC, and we win our division again, and the Arrowhead Invitational happens again, I don't see why Pat shouldn't win the MVP.
Well, because Patrick is going to have 4,500 yards.
Yeah.
He has his highest completion percentage.
This weekend, yeah, dude.
He could finish with 35 plus touchdowns.
Yeah.
He has his highest completion percentage of his career, like you said, which is wild because they lead the league in drops.
Yeah.
But he's having, honestly, an underrated season. The narrative would all of a sudden shift.
He's the standard.
Think about it. The narrative would shift to, well, he's having a down year to, well, you know what? Despite having a down year statistically, they still won the AFC 1 seed, won the division.
Yeah.
Patrick had all these awesome numbers, and they led the league in drops.
Yeah.
He should be the MVP.
No, I love it, too, because it's hilarious, bro, because as a Chiefs fan and as a Patrick Mahomes fan, he's having a quote-unquote down year. Statistically, sure, yards and touchdowns are down, interceptions are up a little more than they should be. All that being said, down year and so on, so forth, people are trying to give Dak the edge on MVP and Jalen Hurts the edge on MVP by comparing their stats to Patrick Mahomes, and their numbers are almost identical to Patrick Mahomes on a down year.
Right.
And that's the reason those guys should be MVP over Patrick Mahomes. It's just that's hilarious.
And no offense to Lamar, I don't think he should be in the discussion. Like Lamar right now is 12th in touchdowns, like 16 in yards. They've had bad losses this season.
He's been playing good, man.
Like, okay, but yes, Lamar's playing good. He's not playing great.
And he's had a lot of guys in and out of the offense. Mark Andrews has only played like 3 healthy games this year.
Yes, I get it. But Lamar, to me, dude, has not. I haven't seen MVP football.
He's not going to win MVP.
I haven't seen enough MVP football from him.
Even though I picked him to win MVP this year, he's not going to win.
I'm just saying, dude. Like his numbers don't reflect it. He's been good. I'm not saying Lamar's been bad.
If they get the 1 seed, he definitely has a great chance.
Like Dak has been better than him this year.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts has been better than him this year. Patrick's been better than him this year. There's at least 3 quarterbacks I can say definitively have been better than Lamar Jackson this season. I don't think he should be in the discussion. I really don't. I think their season's going to end the way it always does, in a disappointing fashion, and we're all going to be sitting here going, "Yep, that's That's the Ravens.
I disagree. I think that team for the Ravens, I think, goes as he goes. I think that team.
Well, yeah,
goes as
he's
Lamar.
their best player.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's the offense. He's been down. I mean, there's been weeks where Odell's been out. There's been weeks where he's had to lean on third, fourth string receivers, and he's gone out there and got. He's also had some terrible losses. They lost to the Colts. They lost to a couple teams that they should not have lost to. But at the same time, I've watched every Ravens game this year, and Lamar has played really well, really good football, and he's in a new offensive system.
Yep.
I expect these last several games of the year for him to finish strong because he's going to be that more adapted to the new offense. But he is down without Mark Andrews, so seeing how he finishes this tough stretch of games without his number one offensive target, the addition of Zay Flowers has definitely helped him a lot. Though that kid's an incredible playmaker. But I definitely think if the Ravens win the AFC and they get the 1 seed over the Chiefs, I think he has a great chance of winning MVP, depending on how Dak and Jalen Hurts finish this season. Well, there's a lot in flux.
Here's the thing, man. The Ravens have a tough amount of games coming up.
They have, I think, the toughest schedule remaining.
They have a bye week this week.
And that division is fucking.
Then they have to they have to play the Rams.
Brutal.
We have to play the Rams, a team that's emerging.
Yeah.
Then have to go to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Then they have to play the Niners.
Right
they have to play the Niners in San Francisco.
That's
they have to play the Dolphins, and they have to play the Pittsburgh Steelers, who already beat them this year.
Yeah. I think they beat the Dolphins, in my opinion. That's a bad matchup for the
Would
Dolphins.
it shock you, though, if there's 2 or 3 losses in that mix?
No. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm confident the Chiefs win.
Yeah.
That's why I'm confident the Chiefs get the 1 seed again, because our schedule isn't as tough as theirs, and obviously we're the better team, and I could definitely see us running the table for sure. The Bills is the only game I think that could be a challenge for us, just offensively, a shootout possible there.
Can't wait to get to that one.
I know.
Cannot
I think we beat them, but yeah.
But the point is, to get back to the point of this whole topic, guys, I would love to, well, I wouldn't love, but you guys know me, I'm never afraid to tell you guys, like, man, this is a matchup, man. This is going to be a tough one. The Chiefs are really going to have to bring it. I believe that now that the Chiefs have seen I really do believe that Eagles game is the one that embarrassed them. I know the Broncos is about as embarrassing as it gets, but then they turn around and beat Miami, which kind of got that monkey off their back. I know that meant a lot to the Chiefs to win that game. They didn't play great offensively, but after the bye week, losing an embarrassing fashion at home to the Eagles, they answered back in Las Vegas. I think something clicked. I'm not saying this offense is fixed.
Well, the Eagles and Denver game have 2 things, or 1 thing in common: turnovers.
Yes.
Red zone turnovers.
Drop passes.
That's why we lost both of those games, is red zone turnovers. So, I mean, you wouldn't compare those 2 games. One is more embarrassing than the other because we know we are better than the Eagles.
Right.
We know that we're better than the Eagles. And that's not me dissing the Eagles. We know we're better than them, bro.
And again,
we know that. And the Broncos game was just, I mean, you can't. It's hard to beat a team 17 fucking times in a row.
We know what Justin Watson, MVS, Sky Moore, we know what those guys are.
Yep.
Right? They're wide receiver 3s and 4s.
You're
Okay.
right.
But we also know that Rashee Rice has a real chance of becoming a high-end wide receiver 2 or a very good wide receiver 1. I think he's going to be I think he's a high-end wide receiver 2. I think at his ceiling he'll be like a Brandon Ayuk, which is something to be very happy about.
I think he has the upside to be wide receiver 1 in this offense.
Could be. He could. I'm not putting a
This is year 1.
I will not put a cap on this kid. He could very well become a DeAndre Hopkins.
Bro, I would take this as a year 2 next. If he was like, hey, like threw 2-3 touchdowns this year, and we're like, oh, maybe he takes that next step next year and he has 6 to 7, maybe 10 touchdowns. So that's this season.
Do you remember?
That's his rookie year.
Do you not remember when I was saying that? I was like, I think he's a 2024 player.
Right, man.
Because I think this is what he's going to be.
Andy Reid, this is the best Andy Reid ever had a rookie receiver perform.
Yes.
Granted, he kind of has to.
Yeah.
He's put in a position where he has to, yeah.
But I think that we're seeing the emergence of Rashee Rice.
Yeah, man.
I want to see the Chiefs continue to go to that well because we know this is how this league works. When a special receiver starts to take shape, you see them take off.
Yeah.
And I want to see that happen for him. I don't want to see, he had a really good game last week, but this game he had 2 catches for 14 yards. No.
Yeah.
Build on him. Throw him the damn ball. Get him 8 to 10 targets in this game. Give him opportunities. I know it's going to be nasty weather, and I know he's still got a drop problem because in the Raiders game he had 2 drops, but he doesn't let that get in his head. He keeps fighting because what did he do after those 2 drops against the Raiders? Destroyed him.
Had his best touchdown of the year.
39, 40-yard touchdown.
Impressive tackle on the way to the end zone. It was incredible.
Like I said, I think more realistically he'll be a high-end wide receiver too. But guys, he has the same skill set and body style of DeAndre Hopkins. He was compared to him the
Brandon
whole time.
Ayuk.
Yeah, and
might be a lot of Brandon Ayuk.
I think Brandon Ayuk's more of a high-end wide receiver too.
Well, yeah,
that's not a knock.
He runs a better route tree,
Yes,
no doubt. But I mean,
that's
he's also
not a
had
knock.
a lot more experience. You know what I mean?
If
And he plays an offense where he can be the third option, fourth option.
If Rashee Rice ends up becoming Brandon Ayuk,
that's my personal comment.
I'm not complaining, not at all. But I think that this game, the Chiefs are going to bring a very similar formula that they had against the Raiders because they also ran the ball plenty against the Raiders as well, and it worked because the Raiders and Packers are kind of similar teams. Josh Jacobs is better than Aaron Jones, but they play similar. And I think that Aiden O'Connell and Jordan Love have a similar kind of game style too. Yep. They're built almost the exact same as well, if you think about it. Like these teams are very similar in record, similar in style.
Jordan Love's far more mobile though.
I would agree, but they throw the ball same. Like they like to throw deep, they like to throw downfield. Yeah. I will give the Raiders an advantage. The Raiders have a much better receiver.
Though, bro.
I get it, but I'm saying
that
the
accuracy problem.
The building of these teams is very similar. I think the Chiefs can have a similar game plan and go in there and be effective on the road.
I am not worried about. I don't even think he's going to be as good as Aiden O'Connell was in this past game. I think I am not worried about Jordan Love in the slightest, bro.
Right.
I'm not. I don't even think there's a way that can come back to bite me. I think he's going to be running for his life in this game. I think the Chiefs are going to. This defensive line is going to get up. I think his offense is going to be ready to go put up some points. And the prime time spots. I mean, outside of playing in Dallas Stadium on prime time, maybe a couple other places, this is about as big as a moment as you get in a regular season. Playing at Lambeau at night with the lights on. Dude, it's title town, man. You know what I mean? Patrick Mahomes' first game starting as a starting quarterback in this stadium. This is a milestone game for him. You know Pat's going to want to go out there and sling it and have a big night, and I fully expect that.
I do too. Let's get to key players before we get to speak it, Trevor. Who are your two key players?
This is a Travis Kelce game. I know he had a good little bounce back game last week against the Raiders. Had a couple nice plays. Got over 70+ yards, which was nice. He's on pace for 1,000 yards again. That kind of got him back on track. I expect an explosive game this week. I think he at least gets a touchdown, maybe two. I think he gets over 100 receiving yards. The secondary has no match for Kelce. Just like the Raiders didn't either. Certain teams with the dogs and the horses that can get and bump Kelce around and double team, triple team him. These two secondaries don't have those guys right now. They just don't. And I don't think they have the veterans, the savvy veterans out there like a team like the Ravens would, or even the Eagles. Teams that have been in the Super Bowl have a lot of experience in that secondary. Not very good secondaries, but they have experience, right? And they have they're well coached. And even the Broncos, they took Kelce out of those games pretty well for the most part because they have some good guys in the secondary and they have some good defensive coordinators on their side. So those two teams, those teams have that wherewithal in order to try to take Kelce out of the game. This Packers team does not have that.
Right.
And I see Kelce having a massive game here in Titletown. I'm looking forward to that. Defensively, look, I'm gonna keep going back to the well until I get it. I think Trent McDuffie has an interception here. I think he finally gets his interception. I tried calling this a few weeks back, about a little over a month ago. We really want to see it. I want to see him get up and get it pick. I think this is a game where a guy like Jordan Love likes to hang the balls up there, and he's known to underthrow a lot of guys. And this is, and we all know any corner in this league that can go hit for hit, fluid movement with any receiver in this league. I can see Jordan Love hanging a deep ball up there and McDuffie going up there and getting it, or one over the middle and Jordan and McDuffie going up and getting it. So I'm calling it. I think this is the week where he finally gets his pick this year. He's been forcing fumbles like a dog, tackling like a dog all year. This is his moment to go get up and get one, that highlight pick. So I'm calling it, man. This is the week where McDuffie gets one.
I like it. Well, I don't know, and I'm trying to look it up right now because I want to make sure that this guy's going to play for the Chiefs, because I think if he does play, I do believe that he will have a key role in what's to happen for the offense, because we know that I have no worries about the Chiefs' defense, but yesterday they did say that Jerick McKinnon is questionable. Yeah. I think this could be that game for him, because I was expecting that this last week before we found out that he was inactive. If Jerick McKinnon does go, this is December now, and we know this is when he turned it on full-fledged last season, when he caught 8 touchdowns from December 1st to the end of the regular season. Yeah. I think this is the time where Jerick McKinnon can become that guy, because we saw a little bit of a glimpse of it a couple weeks ago against was the Dolphins.
Yeah.
That walk-in touchdown, Patrick just dropped it off because everyone was paying attention.
Should have scored 2 weeks in a row. The week before that, he got called back. Yeah.
That was a 50-yard touchdown too. Yeah. I think the Chiefs are showing they're warming him up. And there's a reason why this guy is still on the team. I think if he does play in this game, you're going to see a lot of emphasis on Travis Kelce, as always, a lot of emphasis on Rashee Rice, because we know what he's capable of now. Yep. And I think that people are like, oh, shit, that guy's creeping out of the backfield, and he just got a 30-yard gain. Like, that's what I think that Jerick McKinnon's going to do in this game. So I'm putting him as my offensive piece in this game, because I think that I think he's gonna have some big chunk plays in this game if he does play, and I'm expecting him to.
And when he has games, he has big games.
Yes, he blows up on the spot. And then I'm gonna keep it consistent with what I said earlier. I do believe that I've been big on the linebackers this year, and I think that that's going to be where I stay again, because obviously Nick Bolton is not playing yet. He'll probably be playing the next couple of weeks, but I think that Drew Tranquil is going to show it again. I think I'm gonna ride that train, man. That I believe is real. I think Drew Tranquil as the green dot in this defense brings something that I don't even think Nick Bolton does, which is that versatility. And with Jordan Love wanting to throw the ball, especially without Aaron Jones, these linebackers are going to have to be active in those 5 to 10 yard windows. And if these linebackers play that they've been playing all season, Jordan Love's going to have a very long night.
He's tranquilizing offenses.
Literally. And I think that Tranquil could be a guy that gets a pick in this game. I think we could see a tip drill ball where he picks it off, maybe even takes it to the house.
Or a forced fumble.
Yes,
he's that guy.
He's going to make a big play in this game, at least one. And it's just because of the fact of what he's shown me, the evidence is there. I have no reason to believe that Drew Tranquil is not going to have a big game. I'm sticking with him, so those are my two guys. Let us know what you guys are thinking as far as this matchup. What are your predictions? Trevor and I will give you our full slate of picks for these games across the NFL tomorrow before the game goes live. We always drop those about 11 o'clock on Twitter and on Facebook, so join us on both those platforms if you've not already done that. But without further ado, we need to get to speak it. Let's get to the people, Trevor.
All right. And this, just for further reference, light practice on Friday for McKinnon, and he's questionable heading into the game. So I think he should be able to go.
I hope so.
But this isn't a game where I think they need to rush him back. But you know, what I mean, I think he definitely could go.
Yeah.
Brian Parrott. Do you see the new running back as a possible return man since Miko is out and Sky has never been good at special teams? They knew that was the knock on him in college. So I think he's talking about...
Ingram.
Yeah.
From the Cardinals, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
This is a guy that I know that Brett Veach liked out of college. They didn't get to him, obviously. He was picked before the Chiefs got to him. I do believe that he's a guy, if worse came to worse, he would be a return specialist guy. But
Not
I think,
a good running back, so that would make sense.
Yeah, I think he's more of just a depth piece. He's definitely not on the active roster. So he's going to be on the practice squad until further notice. I think the Chiefs have the most players in the practice squad amongst any team in the league right now. It's like 16 or 17 players. They just like depth. They like skill position depth because they need as much as they can possibly get. And with what seems to be a curse now for punt returning for the Chiefs, it doesn't hurt to throw another body there if, in fact, they need one.
Right.
But I don't expect to see him on the field anytime soon with the Chiefs playing in real time. I don't want to downplay it, but I definitely don't want to overplay it either and act like this is going to be some impact player. I don't really have much expectations, and I don't know why anybody really would at this point. I just look at him as a jag. I think he's just a guy that the Chiefs like. They like his skill set, but that's about it right now. It's not like he's going to come in and make an impact, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not considering him that either. They did. We do have Richie James back too, so I think Richie James probably has the best bet at becoming a returner. Honestly,
would agree.
Next question from Brian Parrott: Why are they lining Sky up outside to take the top off, which he can't do, instead of using him as a quick hit yak guy? That's his forte.
Because he doesn't run the right routes when he's in the side. That's the problem. If you watch all 22, go and watch it. Sky Moore gets lost in his route tree. There's a lot of times where he doesn't run the proper route or he doesn't run it sharply. So they're trying to make sense of having him out there on the field to play 35 to 40 snaps by utilizing him elsewhere to see if maybe he could run more of a drag route, maybe run these dig routes, like things like that. He's not doing it with success, guys. Look, I've made peace with what Sky Moore is. I don't think he's a successful draft pick. I don't think he's going to be anything special in this league like I once thought he was. And I think that the Chiefs are trying to make do with what they can because MVS isn't a wide receiver 1, isn't a wide receiver 2, but he's getting wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 snaps because they paid him $11 million this year. Yeah. They're trying to make sense of what they got, and you're starting to see the narrowing of the players they're playing at wide receiver, and I think that's going to continue to narrow as time goes on. It's like an NBA or a college basketball team. You have a rotation of 6, 7, 8 guys. I think the Chiefs have now realized what the rotation is at wide receiver. It's clearly Rashee Rice, It's clearly going to be Justin Watson, and then they have fill-ins with Sky Moore and MVS. Those are the 4 guys that are going to be getting all the PT. But I think that right now, as it stands, they're trying to get Sky Moore to be utilized as much as he can, and if he's not going to run the right routes inside, they're going to try to see if he can run the simpler routes on the outside. It won't be easy for him because, like you said, he doesn't have the breakaways, but in college, and everyone defends him on this, he created the most separation per snap in the entire college rankings. Maybe he can start to finally utilize that in the NFL side of things. I don't have the faith. I don't have the belief it's going to happen, but maybe it does.
Yeah, I mean, I've said Sky Moore, as of right now, has been a bust as far as where he was drafted. I do think he could become a guy that can be a Chief for a long time, though. I think he's a guy that can, get a second and third contract here, and not obviously not hefty contracts, but I do think he could be like a consistent role player for this offense for a lot of years. Because I do think he has a lot of talent. I do. He's obviously very gifted physically. He's a fast guy. He's very agile. He can make guys miss, and he is good after the catch. I will agree with Brian there. He's a good yak guy for sure. But he's got to get on the same page. He's got to learn this offense, get this offense down. Some guys it takes longer. But as of right now, from where what his draft capital was, he has not lived up to the expectations in the slightest. And I like Sky. I like him as a person. I like what he could possibly become. I like his skill set, and I was stoked on life when we got him in the position that we got him. I forgot he was still on the board in the draft. So when we got him and they announced his name, I was lit. I was excited as hell. But he hasn't lived up to that at all. I was very, very high on him this year, taking that next step as a second-year guy, but he just hasn't done it, and it's been very, honestly, depressing to see. If he has a chance here to finish this year strong, though. If he finishes this year strong, he can change some opinions. But as of right now, I'm out on Sky Moore being anything more than just a rotational guy that can be around for a long time. Maybe, be a guy that can be a possession receiver for a few possessions here and there in a game. Other than that, I don't see him being any kind of electric or big-time player, star player for this offense in any way. Next question, Brian Parrott. Is FAU getting a raw deal from folks over the play where he didn't get the call? They didn't call the hold, the one that sprang the Jacobs run. As far as I think that was FAU.
Yeah, that was FAU. I don't think that's the. I mean, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I don't think that's what everybody's hung up on. I think everyone was expecting a little bit more out of FAU out the gate, but what people don't seem to realize is that FAU was a luxury pick for the Chiefs because they just signed Charles Omenihu. They have George Karlaftis. Mike Dan is balling out. Like, their edge rushers are pretty full right now. So I wouldn't focus so much on the negatives of FAU. Let him develop into the player he's going to become, which I am very much expecting him to become a good player in this league.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of a slower start than what people were hoping for.
And he's playing behind guys that are better than him right now.
Exactly.
That are more ready. You know what I mean? So, him, granted, I know he's a first-round draft pick.
Yes.
I get it. Those are the typical guys, especially edge rushers, guys that should be day one contributors. But we brought in Omenihu for a reason. We have Chris Jones. We have George Karlaftis, who's been incredible this year. He's probably going to lead this team in sacks.
Well, and
he's taking the next step.
Furthermore, FAU was the last pick of the first round.
Basically an early second.
Yes, you can't. Like, there's different expectations, and I think what happened was that guys like T.J. Watt, who was a 30th overall pick, came in and just ran the league wild. I think that people are expecting that to happen now because that doesn't usually happen.
That's an outlier.
Yes.
T.J. Watt is an outlier
look
pick,
when did Nick and Joey Bosa get drafted? Yeah. You know what I mean?
When did Aaron Rodgers get drafted? Hall of Fame quarterbacks don't get drafted that late.
That's what I'm saying. Tom Brady at 199th
That's the ultimate
overall.
Outlier. Yeah.
There are always exceptions and outliers. I think FAU. I think honestly, it's more natural that he gets this time to learn and get snaps here and there than to become the guy when he was the 31st overall pick.
I mean, the optimistic view, I think, for me would be it's exciting that we haven't seen that much of him yet this year. It's exciting to see what surprise he could be next year.
Even when he plays, I think he looks fine to me. He's fast, off the line,
and the whole point,
good swim moves.
I understand what Brian's question is. At the bare bones of this question is he getting a raw deal? I haven't heard much scrutiny on him, honestly. And the fact that wasn't called a hold and it was a hold, which is why that hole was so gaping for Josh Jacobs to have that home run there, shows you that he was there to make the play. Right. He was just getting held. It was an illegal activity that took place there, and it wasn't called, and that sucks. But at least he was there to make the play, and if he wasn't being held, he probably would have made the tackle.
Right.
I think he's a dog, bro. I do think he's a dog, and just watching him in college, he was an absolute beast.
Yep.
He's got a good quick step off the edge.
If I'm not mistaken, he was Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah,
wasn't
he was. Yeah, so I mean, I'm very high on the kid, especially going into next year, and having that guy in a repertoire in our chamber as a kind of a secret weapon heading into next season. A lot of people can forget about and be like, surprise, we got another guy on the edge with George Karlaftis being a third-year player at that point, a guy that's probably going to lead this team in sacks and maybe do it again the following season. George is coming alive, man. So having those two young bucks on the edges could be something for the future, and that's a future move for me. So I don't think he's getting a raw deal from fans. I haven't seen too much, to be honest with you. Shaggy Shane, this is more of a statement than a question. We all want Chris Jones to stay. We love him. But if they can't work out a deal with him and then tag and trade him and use 2 first-round draft picks as well as a second and third-round draft pick for MHJR.
I really hope that
we're not getting Marvin Harrison.
I was going to say, I really hope that doesn't stand for Marvin Harrison Jr.
We're not getting Marvin Harrison. As much as that's a wet dream of mine, but it's not going to happen.
Chris Jones would have to be 24, 25 years old for that to even be a chance of happening, and I don't even think that would happen because of the fact that he's a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
I think if he was an edge rusher, like if the Chiefs had Nick Bosa and they wanted to trade, they might have a chance to do that, but you would still have to give up another first-round pick for that to happen. You'd have to give up multiple pieces that are either equivalent or are actually first-round picks to get that far down the draft because Marvin Harrison is not going to be sitting there after pick 3. It's not going to happen.
No.
So you're talking about getting into the top
I think
3.
he can still go number 1.
Well, I don't think so. I think Caleb Williams still is too. But he's going to be the 3rd overall pick more than likely.
Yeah.
It'll probably be him, Drake, or it'll probably be the Caleb Williams, Drake.
It depends. It depends because the Bears right now have the first pick, right?
Right.
So if they want Justin Fields and they want to pair
I don't
Justin,
think they do.
You don't think so?
No, I think after what just happened against the Vikings game, even though they won, he was horrendous in that game.
I think they get rid of Eberflus before they get rid of Fields.
I think they get rid of both.
That's true. That can definitely happen.
And I like Justin Fields.
But I mean, listen, if you can keep Justin Fields, give him some protection because that offensive line sucks. And that defense is getting good. Here's a little random Bears take. If you can keep Justin Fields, who I still believe in, who can deliver a good ball, especially downfield, and you already have a number 1 in DJ Moore, and you can bring in Marvin Harrison with that offense.
I just look at it like this. Not to dive too far into this, but I just think that with the Bears knowing they have the first overall pick and the potential of upgrading at quarterback while keeping them on a rookie deal, I think that I don't know. But here's the problem: is Caleb Williams going to play for the Bears? You know what I mean? So then the Bears could trade out of that pick. Yeah. We'll see what they do. But the point is,
back to Shane's point. Yeah, we're not getting Marvin Harrison. As great as that man,
that's too rich. The Chiefs are never going to make that move. I'd be absolutely stunned. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to have Marvin Harrison Jr. I just don't see any really realistic scenario. And furthermore, I think there are about 4 or 5 receivers in this draft the Chiefs really like at the value of where they'll be sitting.
Well, what would you rather do? Would you rather find a way to trade Chris Jones for all that compensation and see if someone actually does that? If someone trades away and we get that much compensation for him and we get Marvin Harrison, or would you rather find a way to keep Chris Jones and go get a T. Higgins or a Michael Pittman or one of Mike Evans?
They'll
have
to trade for T. Higgins, and like I told you before, I don't think the Bengals would give up T. Higgins to the Chiefs for anything less than a first-round pick.
Yeah, we've had this discussion off air, but I think that the leverage is on the field than it is the Bengals because the Bengals are not going to be able to keep him.
But if the Bengals know they're giving T. Higgins to the Chiefs, they're not giving him up for anything more than a first-round pick.
Sure.
And the Chiefs will never – I'm just telling you right now, if he was a free agent, I could see the Chiefs going after T. Higgins. I think that there's more realistic scenarios we'll get to. I think they
would take a second.
The Chiefs will go after a veteran free agent without question.
Yeah.
There will be a veteran free agent, like a Juju type, that will be here in Kansas City next year.
I think of Michael Pittman. He's going to be a free agent too. This is his last year in his contract.
I think the Colts are going to pay him a lot of money.
That's possible.
But Mike Evans is very possible. I think Mike Evans is very possible for the Chiefs next season. A guy like that would be perfect for this offense while they draft another guy in the mid-rounds. I do expect the Chiefs to draft another wide receiver.
is going to get 1,010.
Right.
Could get 1,212 with the Chiefs.
I actually think, Trevor, to be honest with you, I think there's a better chance the Chiefs trade for Kyle Pitts than T. Higgins. Because of the fact it's just based on draft value.
Oh yeah, we can give away a third or a fourth.
Yes, because you got a third. You give up a 3rd and a 6th to get Kadarius Toney, who was a 7th overall pick wide receiver.
Yeah,
I think that with Kyle Pitts' lack of production in Atlanta, you can give up a 3rd and a 7th, and go get Kyle Pitts.
I would love that.
Yes,
and then draft another receiver in the draft.
That's what I'm saying. I think tight end will be a position the Chiefs answer, whether it's in free agency, trades, or draft. They're going after another tight end.
I can't wait for this offseason, man.
Yes,
it's gonna be fun.
We'll definitely be talking plenty about that. But at this time, yes, there's no realistic scenario that the Chiefs are getting Marvin Harrison Jr. and Chris Jones will not be a part of a trade for that. I do think, though, that as it stands, the Chiefs will figure out a scenario where they keep Chris Jones here. He's just going to have to understand that $30 million a year is just probably not out there for him.
Yeah, I agree. Next question. Billy Hodge. Our guy, Billy Hodge. Where you been, baby?
Bill Hodge.
Who would you rather keep? Gay, Snead, or Bolton? All of them.
I would say Gay. Willie Gay, because of the fact that there's something about having athleticism like his at 24, or 25 now. I think he's the hardest guy to replace. Because look at what Brett Veach has done. He kills it at cornerback. The Chiefs have won a Super Bowl without a great middle linebacker. In fact, they won a Super Bowl with a terrible middle linebacker.
Yeah.
I think that Willie Gay's ability to tackle an open space while also being really good in pass protection, it would be harder. I do think the Chiefs. I don't think Willie Gay's going to be here. For the record, I don't think he'll be back with Kansas City. Because I think he's going to get paid somewhere else, and he should. I think the Buccaneers, a team that needs to refurbish their linebacker room, would be a team to go after Willie Gay, give him $15-20 million a year. I think that he would be the guy, though, that if all things were the same, and let's say they all were to make the same amount of money, which is not realistic, but if they were, Willie Gay would be the guy because I think he's the hardest guy to replace just from an athletic standpoint alone.
So
this is a good question.
Coming into this question, I initially wanted to say Bolton right off the bat, but I'm going to pivot here. I'm going to keep L'Jarius Snead. I don't pay. I'm not the guy that wants to pay corners, nor do I think we should, nor do I think we will. But production-wise, what L'Jarius Snead has done this year, and he's been great, honestly, since he's been a Chief. He's been a legitimately great, very versatile player at his position, kind of a chess piece kind of guy you can move around and do all kinds of things with. And I think he's been very big for the development of Trent McDuffie. And the duo that they have become this year is incredible. And what L'Jarius Snead, and we could talk about how great McDuffie is, but L'Jarius Snead's been the one on these wide receiver ones, guys.
Yeah.
He's been the one locking the A.J. Browns and the other guys. McDuffie's been forcing the turnovers.
Yeah, McDuffie's been the slot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what L'Jarius Snead has done, now that he's got that partner crime, legitimate elite other lockdown corner alongside of him, it's been allowing him to kind of showcase what he can do against these. He's been traveling with the A.J. Browns, the Keenan Allens, and the Justin Jeffersons, and he's been locking these dudes up. And that's not something that's just a weekly thing for any NFL team. So I think as far as impact goes, as much as I love Bolton, as much as I love Willie Gay, I think Snead's the most irreplaceable one of these guys.
Really?
I do. I think as far as production, I think the production shows. I think this defense has been this great, obviously because the defensive line and the pressure that Chris Jones provides and what we do up front in the trenches have been incredible. But the guy that's been locking down, the best lockdown corner in the league this year has been L'Jarius Snead. He's been the best lockdown corner this year. He's given all these guys that have, I mean, look at outside of every week these teams that face the Chiefs, A.J. Brown's had that streak of 100 plus and a touchdown for like 5 straight weeks.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen was lighting the league on fire, leads the league in receptions. And he has his worst game. A.J. Brown has his worst game. Amon-Ra had a decent game. He scored, but he didn't have a big yardage game or catches game. All these, week in, week out, it's been L'Jarius Snead putting these guys on ice. You know what I mean? So that's a guy, as far as production goes this year, I think that's the guy who's been most irreplaceable, and this defense has been incredible without Bolton on the field. That says something, too. You know what I mean? So I love Willie Gay. I love his athleticism, but the little linebacker position at this point is very replaceable as well. But I do agree with your point that that Veach knows how to scout and find other very good, versatile. We got a guy Jamari Connor who's chomping at the bit to replace L'Jarius Snead, if we're being honest. But what L'Jarius has done this year, man, is elite.
Yeah.
And this duo between him and McDuffie is elite, and I'm not sure if you want to break that up. So if I did have to choose between, I'm playing GM, put my GM hat on, and I have to pay one of these guys, I hate the idea of paying a corner. But L'Jarius Snead is a gamer, man. And his sound bites and the way he whenever he's not a man of many words, but he's just one of those guys that that even if he gets paid, I think he's going to be the same guy. I don't think he's one of those guys that gets paid and then falls off production-wise. I think and then rests on his laurels. I don't think he's that guy. I think he's a true, perfect Spags guy. And if I'm paying one of these guys, I think it's L'Jarius Snead, bro. So that's my answer to that. Next question is our guy Brian Parrott again. Is there a monster defensive tackle coming up in this next draft that will be targeting? I think it's debating on whether we get rid of Chris Jones or not, because if we don't get rid of Chris Jones, I don't think we're drafting a defensive tackle, at least not early.
I'm sure, and we'll look into the names more. I would recommend that you guys reach out to our guy on Twitter, Arrowhead Tom. He's from the Kingdom Says podcast. He's a guy that I would really recommend you get that answer from that would respond to you. Also, obviously, Seth Kaiser. He's a guy that I trust. Daniel Harms. Those are guys that I would recommend that you go to get those specific names that they're big on, because I'll be honest with you, I have not looked into names yet. I will be doing that as soon as the season's over so we can start getting an idea of who the Chiefs might be going after. But if there is a scenario where Chris Jones is not a Chief It's going to be before the draft, obviously, where they figured that out. And I do believe that they would draft at that position. The problem is, and I haven't looked again, so maybe I'll be wrong, but I can't imagine there's going to be a Chris Jones clone in this draft because he's so special in his size and ability and what he does at getting to the quarterback at that position. It's going to be really hard to replace Chris Jones with one player. And if they do that, I don't think it's going to be with a rookie and hoping that he can match that production or that value. I would imagine they're probably going to have to go pick up a veteran player as well, which is going to be ironic because they're probably going to have to spend money on that guy too, and then draft at least one player at that position to throw a couple bodies at that position to try to match what Chris Jones does as one player. That's why I'm still so adamant they just pay Chris Jones, because that negates all that all those resources you'd have to throw at his position just paying him. I know it's like, well, Lance, that's not cheap. Yeah. Go and try to replace him and tell me if that's going to be cheap when it comes to resources.
Hall of Fame players aren't cheap.
Yeah, resources. Well, what do the Chiefs obviously care about more, money or resources? They clearly care more about resources because they've paid a lot of guys. They just paid Juwan Taylor $80 million. They paid Frank Clark $116 million.
Well, and
they've paid Chris Jones.
When the Rams went out of their way to pay Aaron Donald that big deal before they went and won the Super Bowl, you think they were thinking about that money after they won the Super Bowl and putting jewelry on their hand? No,
right.
They weren't thinking about that at all.
You think Brett Veach is going to be sitting there worried about whether he has to pay Chris Jones or not? A lot of money if they win their third Super Bowl.
And it's not like paying Chris Jones that big money isn't like we're all in on just this one season. We have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes.
Because to that point, Trevor, we also remember
this isn't Matt Stafford's 13th year.
We sit here and talk about a L'Jarius Sneed or a Nick Bolton coming up with contracts. Those are replaceable players. We can rank them, but they're all replaceable. Chris Jones is the only guy in this defense. Let's say he gets this contract, right? We're expecting that Justin Reed will probably move on. The Chiefs probably won't be paying Justin Reed another contract. That will mean that there's one player on this defense making money. This is the third cheapest defense currently in the league. That's with L'Jarius Sneed. That's with Justin Reed. That's with Willie Gay. That's with Nick Bolton. If those guys go and make money elsewhere, well, Nick Bolton's under contract for another year.
Right.
But the point remains, if those guys are gone and they replace those guys with younger, cheaper players, which they will, that means it's an even cheaper defense than what it is right now. So I think that's what's going to happen. I still think that Chris Jones is going to be on this team in 2024, and I think he's going to be on this team in 2025 as well. Will it be 2026? We'll see.
I can hope.
Yes, until I see a drop-off of Chris Jones' game, this defense needs to hold on to him. Brett Veach needs to hold on to him because he's still one of the most valuable defensive players in this entire NFL.
Absolutely. Next question from our guy Brent on YouTube. Can we admit that Mecole Hardman has been injury-prone? He missed most of last season. This season, he got hurt again and will miss at least 4 games, even though he barely played when he was with the Jets.
No. Mecole Hardman is not injury-prone yet. Mecole Hardman has been in this league now since 2019, and his first game he's missed was last season. He did not miss a game for the first...
And it was a significant injury.
Yes. He didn't miss a game for the first 3 years of his career.
Yeah.
That's including playoff games, which we know he plays a lot of playoff games in Kansas City.
And he's clearly a guy who will play through injuries, too.
Yes.
He's dealing with major injuries and made a big play against the Bills, too. So
Right. I do think that if he comes back, suffers another injury, then we can start having that conversation. Because, quite frankly, guys, we have to start having that conversation about guys like Joe Burrow. But I don't think anybody's going to sit here and call Joe Burrow an injury-prone player yet.
Back to his college days,
but
bro.
he's getting there. He's getting there. So, I wouldn't say Mecole's there yet. He's suffered 2 injuries in his entire career. This is his 5th season. I'm not going to sit here and call him injury-prone.
Gotcha. I'm with you. John Harrison. My fear is the Chiefs slip up a game and Jags win out. Other than Ravens, their schedule isn't hard. They could get the number 1 seed. Bengals at Browns. Ravens at Bengals at Browns. Ravens at Bucks. Panthers at Titans.
Yeah.
No, I mean, listen, man. And the Jags are a team that can get hot, and they have the horses. That team has elite players on offense and on defense, and that defensive line has really been getting after guys. Josh Allen's been incredible the last few weeks, really turning it on. That guy is an elite tier player, in my opinion. That guy is great at getting after the quarterback. The question is, though, can Trevor Lawrence be consistent?
Right.
He strung along a couple really good games this last couple weeks, but Trevor Lawrence has been bad this year overall. He's turned the ball over way too many times, been very inefficient, poor choices, and I'm a Trevor Lawrence guy. I like Trevor Lawrence a lot, but he has not shown me. He hasn't strung along, enough games to where I can truly trust him to go win some tough battle games down the stretch. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and doubt him because we saw him come back against the Chargers last year in his first playoff game. That's about as heavy balls as you can have, and after a game, and having the internal fortitude to come up back and do that in a big game like that he's proven himself already, I think, in this league. So more than even, the guy he beat in that game has proven himself. So I do think the Jags are a team that could win out. I mean, they are well coached, great offensive weapons, a really, really good young quarterback. So that is a worry too. I mean, people don't sleep on the Jags. The Jags are a team that could still go out there and take the AFC down as well.
Yeah, could the Jaguars win the 1 seed? Yes. Are they? No. Because even though they don't have a tough schedule, they do have a couple of tough games left. First of all, Tampa Bay is not a great team by any means, but it's at Tampa Bay, and they play pretty damn well at home this season. But, I mean, guys, they're going to Cleveland, which is where the Browns play insane defense. And then also the fact they have the Ravens coming into town in 2 weeks. Then they have to finish their season at Tennessee. You guys do know that Tennessee has not lost a game at home this season, right?
Yeah.
So I think that they're going to lose at least one of those games. So, yes, I do expect the Jags. I had them originally at 12-5. They might go 13-4, but they're not winning out for the rest of the season. And maybe the Chiefs don't either, but here's the beautiful thing about it. They finished with the same record. The Chiefs own the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Do you get some news?
Yeah, so you might have to change your offensive pick for the Chiefs. Jerick McKinnon has now been ruled out.
Been ruled out, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I don't know if you have a quick replacement guy you want to
then I'm gonna lean in on the running backs. I think it's gonna be Isaiah Pacheco. I think Isaiah Pacheco is gonna be the guy that this offense needs to run through. Literally this game. I think that he showed in this Raiders game, and anytime he's been given. Look at the Jets game. I think that's the one time this season he's been given 20 rushes. That was the best game of his career.
He's so good.
He's so good.
He's good.
He's a dual threat running back.
Yeah, man.
He can catch the ball. He caught 4 or 5 passes
Dude,
against
and
the Raiders.
He's the kind of running back that drives defense is crazy.
Right.
Because he doesn't have an off switch.
Right.
He's not a guy they're just going to catch slipping.
You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of prime Russell Westbrook. I know that sounds stupid, but hear me out. The engine never shuts off. They are just always going.
Yeah.
Like Russell Wilson.
It's like dumb energy. It's just dumb energy.
Yes.
Doesn't know how to turn it off. It's
like Jesus, this dude is always in third gear. He wakes up in third gear. I always said that Isaiah Pacheco reminds me, if cocaine was a human, that's him.
If he was a cartoon character, he'd be Taz.
Yes.
He would be the Taz. Dude, that is exactly who he reminds me of. Taz.
Nuts, man.
Space Jam Taz, bro.
Yeah, and so I think that if they unleash Jerick McKinnon or Isaiah Pacheco in this game, I do think he's going to control the tempo. He's going to get 5 yards a clip. He's going to be out there doing madman shit. He's going to probably love the fact he's playing because he's from Jersey, dude. You know this dude stays in his jeans.
Yeah.
Like this dude knows snow. He's not a stranger to it.
Yeah.
Probably welcomes that shit. So yeah, I'm gonna confidently say Isaiah Pacheco.
I like it. I think this is a blow up spot for him for sure, potentially. 𝚂𝙿𝙾𝙺 on YouTube has a couple back to back here. This is more of a statement he's making and a claim he's thinking he's gonna put his flag in. We're trading up for Harrison, according to him. He thinks we're going to trade it for. Well, I've seen that a lot on Chiefs Twitter for some reason.
Okay,
that's not going to happen, guys.
Hefe, do me a solid. If you're claiming that to be true, tell me how they do it.
Put some money on it.
Put the trade proposal together, and show me what the Chiefs are going to give up. Because I'm telling you right now, once you start drawing it out, you're going to realize, this isn't happening. Brett Veach is not making that move, guys. The Chiefs in their entire history have made one move similar to that, and it was for Patrick Mahomes. Unless you think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be Patrick Mahomes of wide receivers, you're not making a move close to that. And that was Chiefs moving 17 spots. You're talking about the Chiefs are going to have to move 25 to 28 spots to get Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
Do you really? And the Chiefs gave up all of that to get Patrick Mahomes at 10. Imagine having to go 7 more spots. Look, I'm not telling you you're wrong. Just please, Hefe, if you could, in the chat, show us your trade proposal and how you think it's going to happen. That's all I'm saying. Just give me what you got. Tell me how that happens.
It's time for you to put your mouth where our balls are, man. You know what I mean? It's you know what I mean? If that's what you think is going to happen, put some money on it, baby. The next quote from our guy, 𝚂𝙿𝙾𝙺, is this Kelsey's last year?
No. It's not. Look, and it isn't just from a... Look, I know everyone thinks he's having a down year. Do you guys know on a 17-game pace, he's on pace to have 119 receptions for 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns? Now, I know he's only going to play 16 games this year, but that's for a 17-game pace on what his production has been. Yeah. If you just did it 16 games, it's 112 receptions for a little over 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's an all-pro year. He's still the best tight end in football. So for just an X's and O's game, does he still got it? Does he not have it? Just from that perspective alone, this is not his last season because he's still too great. Second of all, guys, do you guys not understand the situation he's in right now? He's in a prime situation.
Yes, Taylor Swift's moving in. You guys understand this?
Like if if he was going to retire this year, we would see things going in a different way, where he buys a condo in L.A., or he has been moving his stuff to L.A. where she lives, or you would be hearing about him switching over to where she... Why would she be coming to Kansas City if this wasn't the long-term place of where they're planning on being? And the only... let's be real. Travis loves Kansas City. He's not living here, guys, once he's retired. Because he's going to be busy making movies. I mean, he'll have a house here. Don't get me wrong.
Bought a mansion.
He'll still have his house here. He'll still come and visit Kansas City. Obviously, this will be home to him. But I'm saying, guys, he is going to become such a mogul once he's retired.
He's going to be in show business.
House in L.A., you got to do movies and do all this stuff. He's going to be working on a panel. They're still going to do New Heights, and I guarantee you that goes to New Heights, literally. They're going to probably be doing like an actual studio show. It won't be them on their cameras and stuff. It's going to be them together, because this will be Jason Kelce's last season.
Yeah.
And I know everyone says, well, they want to retire together so they can be on the same ballot to make the Hall of Fame together. Guys, as great as Jason Kelce is, and trust me when I say he's one of the greatest centers of all time, he will not make the first ballot. Centers do not make first ballots. Yeah, it just doesn't happen. He'll be a second or third ballot guy, which actually incentivizes Travis to play at least one more year. So that way, the chances of them being on the same ballot is very realistic. I think that's what's going to happen here, guys. I don't think Travis is done, because he's not done. He's not missed a step. He's still what he is. He's just been doubled and triple teamed more than he ever has before. He is a little older. He is a little bit more banged up. But guys, he's still just as productive as he has ever been in his career. And I don't think that this is how he's going to go down. And I think that Travis is the type of guy, because he's a very sentimental, sensitive dude. Like, I know he has the swag and the confidence.
Hard on his sleeve.
But he cries on like New Heights. He's an emotional dude. Yeah. I do believe that we're going to get that statement before the beginning of the season of, hey, Chiefs fans, Chiefs Kingdom, y'all know I've loved you guys forever, but I'm here to tell you some unfortunate news, but it's also going to be a good thing. This will be my last season with the Chiefs. I'm going to be hanging up after the 20 whatever season, and I want us to go out. Let's go win another championship. Let's LFG. He's going to put all the cool things on there, emojis and all that. He's going to come out and have a ceremonial season. I think that's what's going to happen. And quite frankly, that's what he deserves. So wherever they go, because he's such a legend, they'll have like the cool, like, they give him a gift, like Miguel Cabrera did this last season, his final year. That's what Travis Kelce's become. He's become a legend. So wherever they go on the road, they're going to have the cool little announcements. Teams are giving away stuff. They're going to be happy he's gone. Like, you're going to see like the Broncos and Raiders and Chargers tweeting like, hey, Travis, we're really heartbroken that you're leaving. Like cool little subtle jokes. Yeah. We're going to see that whole season. He's going to really enjoy that last ride. That could be 2024. It could be 2025. I do think it's coming soon, but I don't think it's going to be after 2023.
Yeah, I'll talk to him later after the show, and I'll get back with you guys on that. Next comment.
Hey, real quick. You do know there are people that think we know, like, we hang out with Jason and Travis, right? They're like, you guys have the best podcast. It's so cool. You guys are friends. Like, yeah, totally.
Maybe we do.
I never know.
All right, now. Next question is from our next statement is from Hefe as well. This is his last one. Who has a better career, FAU or Leo?
Was that Leo Chenal?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of hard because they play different positions, but I would say probably Leo Chenal. I like Leo. I'm big on him. And at this point, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt because I've seen him play at a higher level.
He's the better player at this point.
I think I'm going to go Leo, but I'm willing to be proven wrong from FAU, and I'm not rooting against it because FAU, if he's playing at a high level, that means that he's getting 10-plus sacks a season, which is going to only help this defense continue to stay at the top of the mountain. So I'm going to say right now, though, Leo.
Well, I mean, I hope it's FAU because where he was drafted, but I mean, at the same time, Leo is a special player in my mind. I think Leo's a guy that's just going to consistently get better over these next 2-3 seasons, especially once some guys are out and he has more opportunity. Because this dude's been given opportunities on the field. He's an absolute stud playmaker and a freak athlete for his size and his speed.
Yep.
People don't realize how fast this dude is, how much ground he can cover so quickly. And as big as he is scary.
Yep.
That is a scary man. So I love Leo. He's becoming one of my favorite defensive players in this roster, and I think that's going to continue to grow because he's going to become a consistent stud on this defense when some guys are gone. So I love Leo. I think as of right now, the better career, I'm going to lean towards Leo, man, because I think FAU is still an unknown at this point, and what he can do and what he can't do and what his strengths and weaknesses are. We don't know yet. So it definitely could be FAU. I hope it's FAU just from where we drafted him, and like I said, the draft capital we spent on him. But as of right now, it's no question for me. It's Leo, bro. He's an absolute stud.
Yep.
James T. Kirk. What's the market rate for Gay, Snead, and Bolton? How many millions would you offer each if you were Veach? Sorry for the unintentional rhyme.
I will say this. So for Bolton, the He's going to be pricey, guys. I hope you guys understand that. There's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be out there trying to get a guy like Bolton because they're valuable to be able to tackle like that in the middle of the field. The injury concerns might lessen it a little bit, but I think if I'm Brett Veach, because I just know that Brett Veach is going to try to make it team friendly, I would offer Nick Bolton a 4-year, $54 million deal. I think it's going to be north of, that's what, $11-12 million a year. I think that's fair. I think that because the fact that he's superseded his expectations, you have to bring it up just a little bit and try to be as competitive as possible. I would up the guaranteed dollars, though. I'd say it's
the fact that this is a lost season for him too is rough.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think that lessens. If he was like one of the top leaders in the tackles right now in the NFL, I think it would be a 60.
Which he is when healthy.
Yes, absolutely. But he's missed 7 games, about to be 8 or 9.
All I'm saying is expecting massive year for Nick Bolton next year. I think he's going to be
very well could be because it'll be a contract year. I would say 4 years, $54 million, and I would say 36 of that guaranteed. That'd be my offer for Nick Bolton. Willie Gay. So you're going to have to pay him a little bit more, and I think that Willie Gay is actually a more valuable piece than Nick Bolton. I would say that if I'm going to give Willie Gay an extension, that's going to be a 4-year, $65 million deal, and I would say 40 to 42 of that guaranteed. You're going to have to pay him a lot of money. He's an outside linebacker, and those guys are valuable. And then the third piece was what?
L'Jarius Sneed.
L'Jarius Sneed. Okay, so it's going to be a low ball for L'Jarius. I would give him a 3-year deal for $32 million. I think that's going to be about a $10 million a year deal for him. He's going to get much better than that in the open market, but the Chiefs know that not only do they not need him for long term, they know they've already maybe adequately replaced him.
Cool, go play for the Panthers.
Yeah, they've drafted 5 corners in the last 2 drafts.
Right.
They've clearly been trying to replace L'Jarius Sneed. If they were going to give him an extension, they already would have done it. I would say a 3-year, $32 million deal. I would say 17 to 20 of that guaranteed.
Those all sound good to me. I'm not a numbers guy, so I leave that to the experts.
Why the fuck did you have to answer that?
I'm deleting that one. Next question is from James T. Kirk as well. Marcus Peters was recently released by the Raiders.
No.
What? Yeah, no, right? Nope.
And I love Marcus, but no.
What was the biggest downfall from Grace? What was his biggest downfall from Grace?
The biggest downfall for Grace for Marcus is he's one of those guys that, and I actually am one of the few that defend him, because I think that he's the kind of guy that is all about football in a lot of ways, but something that Marcus, somewhere along the line, I think it's because of the fact that he experienced immediate individual success in this league, that I think he lost focus on keeping the main thing the main thing. I think that Marcus started to take everything personal, because Marcus is one of those guys that, it's weird, he doesn't give a fuck, but he also wants to be liked. And when he feels that even when the home fan base kind of gets a little sick of his attitude, he will just lean into it even more. He's a very stubborn human being. I think he's got a heart of gold. I think he's a good dude. From everything I've ever heard, he's a very charitable human being. He's great for his family, stays out of trouble. He's never been arrested. He never does anything stupid. Yeah. He just has that personality. And a lot of corners and wide receivers have that alpha mentality, because they know they're on an island. They have to be their own defense mechanism. And I think that what happens is that Marcus, being an emotional guy who loves this game, who loves being an impact player in this game, has leaned into that even more because of the backlash he's gotten. He's an immature individual, and it shows. Yeah. And instead of growing up and realizing that he's made mistakes by doing this, he's leaned into it even more, and that has been a detriment as to why he went from being a future Hall of Famer to a guy that's just bouncing all over the league and is probably going to be forgotten, unfortunately, because this guy had the makings to be one of the best ball hawks we've ever seen. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's not how we're going to remember him.
Well, it's a double-edged sword with him, because rough upbringing, came from a tough environment. That environment made him great at what he is. That environment also is the downfall. It's causal for both. Yeah. And that's the tough thing with Marcus Peters. He was unable to get rid of certain antics and certain emotional tics that made him great, but also make him hard to digest in a locker room and with coaches. I mean, he's gotten into altercations with coaches in KC, obviously got into altercations on live television with the Raiders, and he was cut the next day. He's been on, 4 or 5 teams at this point now. Right. Has been a part of some great teams. Went to LA and got a chip. He was a part of that championship team, wasn't he? Yep. Yeah. So got him some jewelry in LA, hometown. I mean, that was a great. I was super happy for him at that moment that he was able to be a part of that. So I love Marcus Peters, man. I loved him. He was incredible in Washington. Watching him in college was fun. He was an absolute ball hawk. Great playmaker for this team while it lasted. But he was a guy that we didn't even let fulfill his contract here for reasons. And, getting into scuffles and altercations with coaches on a bus is just a it's a one-way ticket out of any locker room. You know what I mean? So if Andy Reid is having a tough time digesting you, giving you second, third chances, and John Harbaugh is having a tough time giving you second chances, the problem's you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So those are players, coaches. Those are the epitome of players, coaches, and yeah, I mean, it's tough to see the downfall of him, man, because I still think he has still so much potential. He's a great playmaker, but he's just too much sometimes, and yeah, it's his own doing.
Yep.
That's the last one, man.
Well, let me put this out there real quick before we move to the final segment of the day. It's a little special shout out that I just said I would do it. So Trevor and I have a very close friend. We consider him like family. Our guy Jordan Chamberlain, his sister Skylar Pierce is 18 years old today. She turned 18. The reason I want to bring it out more than anything is more than just the fact they're family to us. Is that Skylar Pierce, in case you didn't know, was the #1 recruit for women's volleyball for the NCAA. Yeah, in college volleyball. She committed to Nebraska. I was very fortunate enough. I was very honored actually that they had me come with them this summer when they went out to Nebraska and witnessed the highest attended women's sports event ever.
Record breaker.
There were over 90,000 of us at Nebraska Stadium that day to watch volleyball. And I was moved, man. I was really moved by that. It was a powerful moment, powerful announcement they made about the highest attended event ever for a women's event.
It's a lot of people, bro.
And it's one of the greatest programs in all of college volleyball. So they've won a lot of titles throughout time. She was the #1 recruit, like I said. She wanted to be a little bit closer to home. Nebraska's not that far away. It's about 3.5, 4 hours away. I'm proud of Skylar. Just seeing the growth that she's had since she was a little kid to now where she's at as a grown woman, to go in and live in her dream. This girl's all class. She's no BS. That's what I love about her, man. She's super just like into it. You can tell she's focused on the task. She wants to be great, and I expect that out of her, man, because I know that's what Jordan and the family have instilled in her, is to be great at what she does. She's got it, man. She's got it where it counts, and I think that she's going to go out there and dominate at Nebraska. So Jayhawk fans, I know I'm a part of you guys, but Cornhuskers, man, I'm rooting for you guys in volleyball this year and in the next few years, because I think that Skylar Pierce is going to take them some places, man. So I just wanted to give a shout out before we got out of here to give her that happy 18th birthday to Skylar Pierce. We love you. Best of luck to you up there in Nebraska this season and for the next 4 or 5 seasons, or next 3 or 4 seasons. So.
No doubt.
But Trevor, we have one more order of business to get to. What is it called? Hold this L. Each and every episode, we finish off every episode with a series of L's in the world of sports, whether those L's are friendly L's or not so friendly L's in the world of sports. We promise you, whoever is holding the L for you, holding the L for us this week, deserve those L's. Trevor Tootle, who's holding the L for you this week?
All right, so not too sure on the seriousness of this take, but it was serious enough for me to take it serious.
Well said.
I despise ad hominem attacks when. And an ad hominem attack is when you're attacking the individual rather than the take or the opinion itself. That is one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to anyone who discusses things professionally, anyone who has any kind of debate or argument or counter argument to an argument. There's no place for that, especially in sports, because sports is an environment where personalities from different environments, different parts of the world, different races, ethnicities, sexes, genders, whatever. This is a place where we all come and they can be impactful in their own individual way. I love Colin Cowherd, one of the best to ever do it, but he's known he's known to have some takes that are just very, very strange and very, very not well thought out, unfortunately. And when he was having a discussion about what a franchise quarterback should be, what he thinks. This is obviously his opinion. But what do you think a franchise quarterback should look like, talk like, address the media like? And this topic happened to be between the 2 NFC top dogs in the NFC right now, as far as 2 of the 3 between Dak obviously and Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy. But this was directly between Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts. I just want to let you guys hear this real quick. I'm going to play this clip from Twitter.
Jalen Hurts at the podium is the best podium quarterback in the league. Hat on forward, professional, almost manicured, got that CEO like a real grown-up. Brock Purdy. Hey, you guys want to hit some golf balls? You got a hat on backwards. He's not a franchise quarterback. I mean, come on. If that guy came to move your couch, you'd be like, are you a professional? I'm telling you, it really bothers me. Maybe I'm overstating. He's probably a nice kid. His dad needs to call him and say, turn that thing around. By the way, you guys say it doesn't matter. All right. I'm not saying you can't wear it backwards in the garage, playing Frisbee, but hacky sack, your baristas out there. I know that's the de facto, default, dress attire. Franchise quarterback, Wednesday podium. Jalen Hurts is how you want to look. Franchise quarterback, CEO, respectful to the owner and the organization.
Yeah. It's the same guy who's talked about, when his take against Aaron Rodgers was, in comparison to other quarterbacks, being married and, making Kirk Cousins sound like the better quarterback because he's married. Some of the takes I love Colin to death. Yeah. He's one of my favorites all time. Especially, with his relationship with Nick Wright. I love the duo of those two guys when they get together. It's some of the best television I could ask for. But my God, sometimes these takes, dude, it's like this is some old man screaming at the sky kind of stuff. And it drives me crazy that he is the stage he has, the pull he has, the eyeballs that he attracts. And this is the kind of takes he conjures. This is like, man, a backwards hat. And he was getting slaughtered online. Two people were sending Tom Brady.
Scott Van Pelt chimed in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, it's such a bad take. Sometimes I feel like it's on purpose. And I feel like I'm just taking the bait here. But I just wanted to kind of give that.
It's been a consistent take, though. This has been something.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The marriage thing. Yes. He has these ad hominem attacks for some reason. And it's like, dude, do you. Like these personality traits as if they matter if you're a franchise quarterback. Do you not remember Brett Favre, how immature he was and the stuff he would say on the field and off the field and to the media? You know what I mean? Like he's an all-time quarterback.
Joe Burrow's sitting on the sidelines with his injury right now.
Yeah.
Backwards caps.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying, people were giving, like, Patrick Mahomes wearing backwards caps.
Saw Jalen Hurts. I have a picture of that.
Tom cap. Brady, the most successful one of all time. So,
and I love how he has special pleading arguments for those guys.
Dude, right.
It's like, in those cities.
And my favorite one, too, and going back to the marriage thing with Tom Brady, he's not divorced. So, and he's out here spewing nonsense about, in his post-career.
That's a whole other L.
And Alex Smith already bodied him enough, so we don't need to even go there. But yeah, man, I hate, that's a pet peeve of mine when you're not actually talking about the game. You're not actually talking about who these guys are, what they do week in, week out for their teams. Yeah. You're talking about their attire. You're talking about whether they're married. You're talking about them being a barista. You're talking about them being a cool guy that can go play Frisbee.
Brock Purdy leads the league in quarterback rating. I wonder what it would be if he didn't wear his hat backwards.
Brock Purdy has been maybe the most overachieving NFL draft pick of all time. Yeah. He was the last pick in the NFL draft, and he's starting for one of the best teams in football for a second consecutive year.
And he's excelling.
He took a grown man's job last year. Yeah. A guy that got benched this year for the team that paid up the ass for him. But I mean, yeah, it's I hate those kind of takes. I hate ad hominem attacks. I hate when you're attacking someone that has nothing to do with what they do for their career. It's silly. So for that, Colin Cowherd, do me a solid favor, my guy, and
hold this L. So there was some history made this week, and I don't like it. We found out, I think it was Thursday, that the Chiefs and Patriots are going to be flexed out of Monday Night Football in the next coming weeks. And it's the first time this has ever happened in NFL history. No team has ever been, no matchup has ever been flexed out of Monday Night Football, and it's actually going to be moved for a better game. It's the Eagles and Seahawks, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't want to watch Chiefs Patriots.
Well, hear me out though. I actually did. And here's the reason why. One, noon games suck. Okay, we used to have to watch those all the time because the Chiefs used to be a team that no one really cared to watch because they had Alex Smith or they had Matt Castle at quarterback. They weren't a sexy team, so we played noon all the time. And I'm sick of noon games because I grew up watching noon games all the damn time. I like my team in prime time. It's something that's like an ego thing maybe. And it's also the fact that I like kind of like getting warmed up to our game. I like watching other teams kind of, getting pumped up, and then the Chiefs game comes on.
It's good preparation for the playoffs.
I've been spoiled, without question. Chris Jones is right. And when he talked about spoiled, he was talking about me. I'm spoiled. I like seeing my team in prime time. So I don't like the fact that the Chiefs are getting taken out of prime time. But more than anything, you guys know how I feel about Bill Belichick. I think he's the most overrated coach in NFL history. He is the most successful coach in NFL history. But you see the glaring difference between when he had Tom Brady and when he doesn't. He is a below 500 head coach. He is a 6-time Super Bowl champion on the other side. That should tell you something about what he truly is as a head coach. That when he doesn't have the greatest or one of the greatest, he's not even close to he's not even a good head coach. This is why I said before the season, I didn't have him in my top 10 quarterback head coaches coming into the season. People thought I was nuts.
Well, it's pretty clear he doesn't know how to evaluate. He doesn't know how to evaluate talent.
That's another problem. That's tarnishing his legacy, because even when he had Tom Brady, he couldn't draft Pro Bowlers or All-Pros to save his life. He could scheme up a defense like a motherfucker.
Well, he knew how to draft.
But leading a team,
yeah,
it's not there. And you're seeing he's now 16 games under 500 without Tom Brady in his career.
Crazy.
16 games under Andy Reid is 62 games over 500 without Patrick Mahomes. Think about that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see the Chiefs beat the shit out of Bill Belichick in national television, because Bill Belichick deserves that. He's the one that pushed Tom Brady out of New England. He's the one that keeps drafting punters in the second round. He's the guy that refuses to add real skill position players, but then will go and overspend on guys he has no business going after. The last All-Pro he's drafted on the offensive side was Rob Gronkowski, who's been retired for 2 years. I want to see that guy get embarrassed on national television by a better quarterback and a better head coach. That's what I wanted to see. I think we were robbed of that, because now it's a damn nooner. No one's going to pay attention to that game. Chiefs are going to win that game 31-9, and no one's going to pay attention because that's what had to happen. But if it was on national television, this would reveal even more so to the people out there what is ascending and what is descending, and you're showing the storyline would be so rich. Because the Chiefs are on that trajectory of becoming that next Patriots dynasty, and the Patriots dynasty has been dead on arrival now for 3 or 4 seasons. And I would like to see that kind of transpire in front of the entire nation, because we haven't seen the Patriots really in front of the whole world a lot this year. They've been kind of ducking it, and they've been losing some really bad games. If you had to play the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes goes out there and embarrasses your defense, Andy Reid embarrasses your defense, Steve Spagnuolo dominates your offense, it shows the changing of the guard right in front of our eyes. I would have loved to see, and I think they robbed us of that, even though I get it. Seahawks-Eagles is a better matchup. I felt like this should have stayed where it was, because I felt like this would have been what us fans actually wanted, and we didn't even know we actually did.
First Monday night game flex ever.
I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. Yes, I'm a spoiled fan that likes my team playing primetime games. Patrick Mahomes loves playing in primetime games. I would have rather them keep it as is and let the Chiefs embarrass Bill Belichick for what he is as a fraud. I would have liked to see that. So for that, Monday Night Football, ESPN, do me a solid and hold this L.
Only reason I was okay with it is because I've missed damn near every primetime game this year because I work later hours. This I'll be able to sit at home and watch it on a Sunday. That's me being selfish.
For you only, I care.
That's
everybody else,
selfish.
who gives a shit?
I don't care because I won't miss all the first 3 quarters of the game. So works for me.
Hell yeah, man. Oh, you know what? This might not be in prime time, but we feel like we're in prime time because you guys give us that energy back. We try to give it to you guys every single Saturday to exude it to you. You exude it back, and we have ourselves a fun 2-3 hours on Saturdays with you guys. It's been an absolute blast today. We didn't have any guests today. We kind of wanted to just have it back to just us hanging out, just the 2 of us, if you will. But we've had a blast today, as we always do. We're going to have some really good guests coming up, guys. Stay tuned for that. Been lining those up for the last couple of weeks, actually. I haven't even really told Trevor yet, but he will find out sooner rather than later. Might actually have a monster guest coming up that you guys have not ever seen on the show yet, and that might be happening soon as well. But stay tuned for that regardless. Appreciate you guys in the chat. Appreciate you guys watching live. If you didn't watch live, if you're listening right now, we appreciate you just as much. We appreciate all the support, and we're going to keep this bad boy rolling. If you guys want to keep talking in the chat, don't stop doing that. Don't let us stop you from doing it. Get on Facebook, get on Twitter as well, and the conversation never ends. We promise you guys we constantly want to have fun with you guys talking all sports, because like I said before the show, when I was over here doing a mime interpretation, when we weren't on actual, you guys couldn't hear us yet, I was talking about how their MMA going, the NBA is going, college basketball, college football is going on. There's so much going on outside of just the NFL. If you guys ever want to talk about it, man, get on our Facebook page, get on us at Twitter, let us know what you guys are talking about. Hit like, subscribe on Twitter, or on YouTube, rather, the Spoken Podcast. Let us know what you guys are saying in the chat, because that's the most important part to us, is to know what you guys want to talk about, what you guys are wanting to ask us, because we value that more than anything else. So for the meantime, though, we need to take a break, because I feel like we told you guys enough. We said what we needed to say, but you guys keep bringing us what you guys have to say. So for Trevor Twidwell, for the great Clay Windler that puts all this together on the back end of things, I'm Lance Twidwell of the Spoken Podcast, episode 245. We are done, finished, and finito, and until we're back here in 1 week's time, hopefully we're talking about the Chiefs at 9-3 with sole possession of the 1 seed. We out of this bitch.
Later.